What's up, everyone? Welcome to a very special edition of GameFace on Sifted Games. Tonight, it's our Game of the Year episode, Matt.
Awards. I love awards.
Awards. We're going to be giving out a ton of them today. Actually, 16, I think, is what the total ended up being.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. We're not going to go through everything. Like, I know people probably want us to go through every single genre. There's a few that we left out. Like, we didn't do sports game. I'll tell you right now, NBA 2K16. Some of them I can do really quickly. We tried to cater them to, obviously, the bigger audience than our Sifted audience. A lot of people don't care about sports games.
I'll tell you right now, I have no opinion on sports games you should listen to. So,
so there are a few we're going to skip over. We do a couple of fun categories as well, but we do have 16 to get through, so we don't want to spend too much time on the intro. But before we get into the awards, we have one matter of business to get to, Matt.
Long awaited.
2
hosts ago.
Two hosts, you're right. Maybe more. Actually, more than that. We had a bunch of guest hosts. So some of you, I don't know, some of you may not have been around when we first kind of launched GameFace, but one of the first things that we ever did is we set up a video game fantasy football draft between myself and Marcus Beer. And obviously Marcus ended up leaving right before E3, but we still have the records, we still have the draft, and today we are going to unveil the winner of the first annual Sifted Games Fantasy Football League. Now, in January, Matt and I will be doing another draft. He's had the benefit of watching both of Marcus and I fumble through the first year. No pun intended.
Yeah.
And so it probably should be a little more competitive, but we do finally have the results of the draft. Tony, bring them up. All right, so... So you can see there, the ones with the X's are the games that never ended up coming out. Games that were supposed to come out this year that ended up getting pushed. Marcus had 4 games that were never released. I ended up having 3 games that were never released. So, total points in the winner of the league, yours truly, Shane Satterfield, with 626 points to Marcus's paltry 497.
Woo. Hence why we're actually talking about it. Marcus won. What would we do?
Yeah, what would we do? How can we congratulate him on his victory? So, I ended up beating him
Mighty
pretty
number
good.
9? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It is pretty
There's
crazy.
a couple things on his list that I think even at the time I knew weren't coming out this year.
Well, I was pretty hopeful, too, with Persona 5. The Division I got screwed by.
Well, Persona 5 Atlas swore for months it was coming this year. It really is coming this year.
I'll say one thing. I drafted it too high, though. I should have taken it with my last pick, but the thing was, I figured if Persona came out, it was going to get a huge score, so I kind of took a risk there.
Mm-hmm.
No Man's Sky I got juked by pretty good. I think most people pretty much thought it was going to come out this year. I don't know. Maybe it was borderline at the
I
time.
hoped it would, but...
Yeah. The Division, I definitely got screwed by, no doubt.
Screwed by the Division, but you did pick Bloodborne, which was smart.
Yeah, you can see I do have 3 games in the 90s. Marcus has none. So
yeah, although I think Arkham Knight and Halo 5 should have been... I'm sure at the time we thought they were going to be 90s.
Well, I mean, that's the idea. You have to figure out what you think they're going to score. And I was going by the fact that Halo 4 didn't score that great. I figured Halo 5 would probably get around what it did. So... First 3 rounds for me were really solid. I ended up with the 3 highest scored games of the entire year.
He gave you some shit for picking Bloodborne, if I remember right.
Yeah, I knew it was going to score high. I could just tell by the way the journalists were talking about it already. So just to kind of give Marcus a chance, what I did was I basically eliminated the games that didn't come out and found what our average was for each game we picked, and I still beat him there with an 89.4 to an 82.8. So... I am the champion.
I am the champion.
I am the champion of Year 1 Sifted Games Fantasy Video Game League. And Matt, you have to see if you can take the throne next year. Maybe by the time we do the draft for next year, I'll have a trophy or something to represent the champion.
See if we can break the streak.
Good luck taking the 1-year streak. Good luck taking it from me. I had a lot of fun with this. I did kind of keep up with it throughout the year. When a game would come out, I would peek at Metacritic a little bit.
This one's going to be, next year's going to be tough because we really don't know what the second half of 2016 looks like.
I mean, it kind of felt the same way when we did this, though we were a good bit into the year. I think we did this in March or April, something like that. Yeah. So Yeah, you're right. Like there'll probably be half of our games will be X's when we do this show next year. So
or they'll all be out by June.
Yeah.
I think there's a fair amount of stuff because for some reason I keep thinking about certain games. It's like, oh, that'll be out early next year. It's like, no, there's no release date. They haven't mentioned anything. It's the end of the year if we're lucky.
Yeah. So Tony, you can bring that down now. I'm the champion. I am the winner.
I don't care. I got no dog in this fight.
You had no dog in the fight at all. So, yeah, I'm just going to gloat now. I probably never gloat over it again. But I did win, and I'm pretty happy about that. So, it's time to move on to the first award for the Sifted Game. First ever Sifted Game of the Year awards, by the way.
First annual.
Yeah, by the time I had finished up at GT, I was so sick of doing Game of the Year awards.
The funny thing is I've been doing this so long that it doesn't feel like Christmas time until I do a Game of the Year award.
Yeah. Like I said in the last episode, it had become this crazy process where it was like 3 days of debates and then 3 weeks of cutting the video.
And it was always like right on the heels of VGAs.
Exactly. Yeah. While we were doing all the work for that as well. So this is going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a lot more fun. We had always talked about it at GT, like bringing cameras into the rooms while we did the debates and then cutting it down to like the best stuff. We never did, but we're kind of doing that here.
A little bit.
Matt just saw my winners. I have actually known his for a couple hours now because I had to put together some of the stuff for the show. But Matt just saw mine as he came into the studio. So we haven't really talked about any of our awards or anything like that. It should generate some pretty good discussion. So here we go with our very first award. The first award is for Best Graphics. Now, I should also say before we start, some awards we're going to give a winner and a runner-up, but most of them we're just going to give a winner, although I'm guessing other games probably will organically come into the discussion. So, first award for the first annual Sifted Games Game of the Year Awards 2015, Best Graphics. Matt, what was your pick?
For runner-up or winner?
For runner-up.
For runner-up would be The Witcher 3.
The Witcher 3. I can definitely understand that.
Yes, it is a pretty game.
It's a very pretty game.
Especially on two Titan X's.
Yeah. So you just built yourself a beastly PC.
Yeah, it's and so I run it, full 4K, 60 frames. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy that something looks like that. And it
runs that well, despite the fact that you spent how many dollars on your rig?
A lot.
A lot.
But it's pretty future-proofed, a little more than future-proofed. But it's solid and it's very believable.
Solid.
Very believable.
It's beyond solid.
Yeah, but I mean it's solid frame rate. I mean it runs very well, and I think even I put in the PS4 version a little bit this week just to kind of refresh myself and
also to see how they've improved it.
Because exactly they've improved it tremendously. It runs much better. So I think all around it's a graphic powerhouse on console or PC. So but for me that's my runner up again. Any other year that would have won. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
But
not to tip your hand for your
not
winner.
to tip the hand for the winner, but yeah. So what was your runner-up?
My runner-up is Star Wars Battlefront.
Legit.
And so if I were to just give an award for best technical achievement for graphics and ignore the art, Star Wars Battlefront would have been my winner. Mm-hmm. On a technical level, I don't think it has a rival this year. There are literally some scenes in that game that almost look photorealistic. I grew up with Star Wars. It was crazy listening to Cliff Bleszinski at the Game Awards talking about how he went to see Star Wars as a kid with his family at the drive-thru in a station wagon. I did the same exact thing. I went to see the original Star Wars in a station wagon with my family at a drive-in, just like Cliff Bleszinski. And so, Star Wars is in my blood, and so seeing some of these scenes and these ships and these characters in glorious HD for the first time, I definitely give it a little bit of a fanboy bump, I guess is the best way to put it. I think one thing I would say that kept me from giving this game best graphics is that a lot of the game looks a little barren to me and a little repetitive. A lot of it just has to do with the license. Star Wars there's Hoth. Hoth is a big open area with snow. There's only so much you can do with that. Now, obviously, this stage, a lot more detail, and this is where it really blows you away with all the lighting on the foliage and everything. But on the whole, there's a lot more parts in Battlefront for me where
it's a little easier for the engine to keep up because there isn't a lot of detail in it. So that's why it ended up being my runner-up. Now it's time for the winners, Matt. Matt, what is your winner for the best graphics of 2015?
My winner is Star Wars Battlefront. Which, I mean, I don't disagree with any of what you said, but as a giant Star Wars fan, the detail brought to life in that game is just it's unmatched. And, if I wasn't such a huge Star Wars fan, I think I probably would have gone with The Witcher as the winner, but, like, just the visuals of that game just put you there in a way that almost no other Star Wars property, even the movies in some cases. I mean, we've never seen some elements of those planets that close up and that detailed, and like just the other
because the movies were old.
Yeah. Well, even the other day, now that everybody's all max level, everybody's running around as the black hole stormtroopers. The stormtroopers in the black armor, and on Hoth, like they get snow on them. Like you get like a dusting of white snow on the black armor, and it's awesome. Like it's such a great piece of visual work. And yes, they didn't design any of it themselves because it was all basically ready-made for them, because like you say, it's Star Wars, it's already there. It's not an art direction triumph in the sense of like being ultimately creative, but they replicated that world in a way that I don't know if even the movies have succeeded at on some levels.
Not yet, right?
Not yet.
Because the technology back when that original trilogy came out wasn't where it is now. So
yeah. I mean, the AT-ATs certainly look better than stop motion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the ships probably have more detail on them than the models did.
Well, they were all done, they called it photogrammetry, where they go and they actually got the models out of the Lucas archive and they took pictures of every single angle and they just made 3D models out of them.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Definitely a gorgeous game. It's one of those games that I always dreamed about playing as a kid. I mean, and now it's a reality. So I can totally understand where you would give that game Best Graphics of 2015. Now it's my turn. Mm-hmm. And my winner for Best Graphics of 2015 is The Witcher 3.
Oh.
So we just flip-flopped.
Get to the Magi crap. Come on.
And here's why I gave Best Graphics to Witcher 3 over Star Wars Battlefront is just the level of detail, one. The world in this game, it has so much more detail in it than a lot of the worlds in Battlefront. But the other part of it, too, is the variety and the different things that they had to create, render, animate. It's just a much more complicated game. There's a huge campaign that you have to play through. Multiplayer is kind of like you create these tools and they're just there and they just function within the multiplayer environment. In single player, one thing you could say, I guess, is maybe they can cheat a little bit with single player because you kind of know what people are going to experience at all times. But just, I think it's the complete graphical package. To me, on a technical level, on an artistic level, the fact that they created this from scratch and it's not based on another IP gives it a little bit of a bump for me. So while I can totally understand how Battlefront would win for you, for me personally, The Witcher 3 is the winner for Best Graphics of 2015.
It's like that thing on Sesame Street where like Bert sold his paperclip collection to get the soap dish for Ernie's rubber duck, and then Ernie sold his rubber duck to get the box for the paperclip collection. We just reversed each other there.
The other thing, exactly. The other thing, too, I should mention is that, there's a story in The Witcher, so they had to animate characters and faces, and
there's a lot of cool facial tricks. Probably the best conversation acting in game history.
Yeah, very subtle facial animation that really tips the hand of the character, what they mean, how they're feeling. So again, I just felt like overall it was kind of the more complete package, and that's why I got the nod. So
well, before you change my mind,
let's move on. All right, the next award is for most innovative, and I have to say, putting this nominees together for this was really depressing.
Yeah, there was not a lot that sprang to mind. I had to really mentally dig through what I've played this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know that we need any more evidence than we have right now with how many remasters are being made, that the industry is approaching being creatively bankrupt. But trying to put together like a runner-up and a winner for this category was really tough.
Yeah.
Like, really tough. So, Matt, after all your digging, what ended up being your runner-up?
My runner-up for most innovative would be Lara Croft Go, which is a mobile game.
Yeah.
And very heavily based on Hitman Go, which was pretty, but it's a turn-based. I think they took the formula, which is like a turn-based take on Hitman, and they did it for Lara Croft. And I think it translates very well, and they did a lot more interesting stuff with Lara in this format. And it's kind of a puzzle game. It's kind of an exploration turn-based thing, but it's not really like anything else I played, and it extrapolated from Hitman Go in a lot of really clever ways. So, and I'm kind of a Lara Croft fan this year. I've never been a Tomb Raider fan, but like,
Wow.
playing the Definitive Edition, playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, like I was like, you know what? I think they got some cool shit going on with Lara Croft right now. And Lara Croft Go is one of those things that I was gonna just ignore as like some kind of fly-by-night cash-in mobile thing, and then I just tried it on the recommendation of people, and I played it for a long time.
Yeah, not to devalue your pick or anything, but when that game is one of the most innovative games of
right.
the year,
You are
that's
right.
really, really bad.
I had to really think about stuff that did things, and I was like, oh, that was clever, that was cool, in a way other than like, oh, Witcher 3 has cool conversation animation,
Right.
or like, Xenoblade's map is cool on the gamepad. Like,
Right.
there's things that like went beyond just sort of like using what you already had in front of you and doing something new with it. That's a very hard thing to pull out of 2015.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so for my first runner-up for most innovative, it's Splatoon. So, when I first saw this game, I thought Nintendo was insane. I was like, I still don't really like the characters and a lot of the art for the game. But the way the game plays, because I first heard about it and I was like, Nintendo's never really done a competitive shooter before. This is going to be a complete disaster. And while it isn't in the running for like best shooter of 2015 or anything like that in my estimation, it's way better than I ever thought it would be. And I also feel like once I played it, it wasn't what I expected at all. Like I thought it was a third-person shooter, but it's really not. Like it's really like a competitive 3D platformer with kind of shooting as a means to an end. I like the different ways that you play, the territorial kind of game modes instead of just kill more people than the other team kills, even though it kind of has that stuff as well, kind of hidden in its modes. Just a really unique experience. Like I never really dreamed that the whole painting part of it would be as prevalent and as important as it was. I was really surprised with the strategy in the game. Again, slim pickings for 2015. But Splatoon is my runner-up for most innovative game of 2015. Now it's time for the winners, Matt. What is your winner?
My winner for innovation would be Undertale.
Interesting, because just a caveat. Before we shot the last GameFace 2 days ago, we had a conversation about this game before the show. And you didn't seem to like it very much, so I'm a little surprised.
Here's the thing. Just because I think it's innovative doesn't mean I think it's good.
Good point. Touché.
The thing is, like, Undertale, the innovative part of Undertale is that the battle system is set up so you never have to kill anything.
Right, you can play the game without killing enemies.
It's a turn-based RPG, a classic kind of 8-bit-ish RPG. But you can talk to the enemies and kind of examine them and figure out ways to get around them and sort of let them go and have mercy on them. And if you want to, you can go through the whole game and never kill anything. You'll stay level 1. That's it. And there's an interesting element of like, depending on whether you don't kill anything, whether you kill everything, whether you kill a mix of things, whether you kill certain things, the ending will change, and it will also impact your subsequent New Game Plus playthroughs. And so I thought taking that idea and making it work with a ton of different... It's not like every enemy you can just say like, oh, hi, I'm your friend, and go away. Like, you have to figure out how each enemy type you have to deal with to get away peacefully.
Right.
And so I thought that was very interesting. I think overall the game is a little... it's a little. Everyone seems, everyone seems to like it. It's kind of, it's hilarious and the characters are great, and like, but it really feels calculated to me. It feels calculated to appeal to the people who want some kind of wacky, like, kind of retro, warm-hearted sort of like.
So it's tailored to the otaku, is what you're saying.
Or like to the Tumblr crowd, I guess.
Yeah.
Like kind of it seems to be kind of.
I have not played this, by the way. I probably should have.
Yeah, you probably should. I mean, it is worth playing. It's a quick, like 6 to 8 hour playthrough the first time through, and
Which is really short for an RPG.
Yeah, but it's like the idea is like you're gonna want to play. If you want to really see all the stuff you can get out of it in terms of how you change the world, you will probably want to play it 3 times. I would say
3 times. Okay.
Yeah, and it's faster on subsequent playthroughs.
How so?
Like you can skip stuff.
Okay.
And things things drastically change depending on what you did. If you kill everything in that game, like you get a totally different game the second time you play, almost. Like and different new characters and things. I mean, it's crazy. So in terms of innovation, I think they really did some cool stuff with that. But in terms of like kind of the story and the moment-to-moment writing, like it's a mix of like, oh, that's good, that's funny, that's a cool character, and also just like, oh, you're trying so hard right now. It's a little too much like a Hot Topic shirt. sometimes. If you see what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
But it's worth playing. It's just one of those things that like has been, the fans of it are so rabid that like, when I play it, I'm just like, really? Like this is, it just like the hype ruined it a little bit, I guess. But it is good and it is very clever and it is very smart. There's a lot of smart game design behind it. So I recommend playing it, even if you hate the story or the characters, which I don't think anyone would hate it really.
Yeah.
But even if you think it's a little precious, I recommend getting through it and just seeing how he handles. Like,
It is one guy, yeah.
But one guy, just seeing how he handles not only the non-violent gameplay type, but also how he keeps it interesting through the whole thing, and how bosses change it, and how it's in, and also because like it is a turn-based RPG, but when they attack you, a little screen is here, and your heart is your soul, and you can move it in real time like a bullet hell shooter around their attacks in various forms. So like they have different patterns, and like blue attacks don't hurt you if you're not moving.
Hey, if he found a new way to work with a turn-based battle system, that sounds worthy to me.
So
that's no easy task.
No, and it's like just looking at the screenshots or whatever, you might not think.
Yeah, I've watched trailers and I never really got that from it. So
yeah, I think that to me was the thing that really made me sit up and say, "Wow, this guy did something new this year."
Cool. All right, so my winner for most innovative of 2015 is the Oculus Touch controller. So when we started hearing about VR, it's very easy to get VR. You sit there, you have the helmet on, you look around, maybe you hold like a controller in your hand, like an Xbox One controller or a DualShock 4. But I always wondered, I'm like, how do we interact with VR and make it work? And so, you remember those old arcade games that were like these huge like helmets that you'd pull down almost like a periscope in a submarine and put on your head, and like, so ever since those days, I've wondered, like, how will we really interact with virtual reality? And the first time I got to use the Oculus Touch, I got it. And I was like, oh, so now I see how this is going to all work, and it's going to basically open up new genres of games for VR. Whereas before, I feared that like every game was going to be like a first-person adventure or an experiential thing where you're just sitting there and kind of everything's happening around you as a passive participant almost. Once I used these controllers and held these controllers, I understood how it was going to be interactive and how I was going to be able to interact with VR. So to me, that's a big paradigm shift. I think this is something that's going to pay dividends way on down the road. I have a feeling that PlayStation VR may eventually try to find something similar to use instead of using the Move controllers, because as we saw at PlayStation Experience, there are big-time problems using the Move controllers in VR. And that was one of the things that kind of tipped me off to this when I was like searching my soul to find something innovative from 2015. I was like, that's right. Like, I loved Oculus Touch. It was a disaster using the Move controllers for PlayStation VR. So that's kind of what led me to this choice. I think this will be something that, I don't know, probably a lot of our viewers have never got a chance to use them yet. I think once they do, they'll understand why my pick is what it is, and I think years on down the road.
Yeah, there are some people in the chat saying, like, not fair. It's not out yet.
That's a good point, but I did experience it this year.
Yeah, you did it this year.
I used it this year, and it was introduced this year. Yeah. So it is kind of fair, unfair.
And you can have, if you get the dev kit or whatever, like, you can actually own one.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. If you're
if you want to throw that kind of money away.
Yeah, which now those dev kits are going for like $1,500 on eBay. So I don't think anyone's going to go buy any of those. But that's my pick, at least as far as what I experienced this year. Maybe I looked at this award a little differently in that like it didn't come out in 2015, but I looked at it as like what I experienced in 2015 and what was developed in 2015. And it is a finished product as well, even though it isn't technically available at retail. It is done. So maybe that gives it a little pass, I guess.
Yeah. I'm hoping next year this category won't be so hard to pick because of all the VR.
Yeah,
happening.
That should help, but I'm still. But then it may be even impossible to pick because then it's like, well, which VR experience?
One did it best?
Yeah. Exactly. So
and we may not even know that for years until we see what has the most influence.
And next year we'll probably have like best VR game as a category, and how do we delineate between most innovative? It'll be tough.
Undertale wouldn't be one of my best games, but it is one of my most innovative.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to the next.
If I could stop and be a producer for a second.
Sure.
I think your shirt button is whacking your microphone a little bit.
Are you getting any pops?
There's some people saying that there's some mic pops on their end. On the chat,
I'll fix it for you guys then.
I want to make sure we aren't running into that problem for our game of the year.
Is that good?
How's that?
Are you getting pops? Okay.
Okay.
Let's roll on. Our next category is Best First-Person Shooter. No runner-up for this one, just a winner. Matt, what is your favorite first-person shooter of 2015?
Well, that is, again, kind of a winner of the lesser of
evils?
multiple evils. But I'd say the first-person shooter that made me scream the least in obscenities would be Halo 5 Guardians.
Halo 5 Guardians.
So, yeah, I'm a Halo fan from way back. I was not a huge Halo 4 fan. I think they dropped the ball on that a little bit.
I think most people would agree with you on that.
Yeah, probably. But I think they started to find their feet again. It's not the most amazing campaign ever. I think the end of the campaign should probably have been the end of Act 1, and they, should just keep telling a actual 3-act story. But which I guess is this is the beginning of a new trilogy, so like that's kind of the excuse. Is like, oh,
maybe they're using the trilogy, each game as an act.
Pretty much, which I think is not the best.
Yeah, that's not a great
not the
idea.
best way to go about it.
Unless they plan on one day compiling all 3 games into one game, which probably will happen.
Yeah, that's true. You probably get another Master Chief Collection at some point. But I like the 60 frames per second. They made a couple of graphical sacrifices to get there, but like it runs very smoothly. Warzone, while it's not a replacement for the large-scale battles of the
which are available now.
Which are available now, yeah. It is a fun mode once you're no longer feeling like it's excluding the mode you want to play, like in favor of it. So like now that they're all in there, like that's a good time, good experience, and it's a much better Halo experience than I had previously with Halo 4 or with Master Chief Collection, because that didn't work for like 3 months. And,
yeah, I mean, the networking has not been a problem with this game at all.
No.
So 343 definitely got that sorted out.
And that is certainly why it gets the nod for me over Battlefront, because I've had so many weird connection issues with that game. And Halo 5, frankly, has a lot more to do than Battlefront.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy my time with Battlefront, but I yelled 4-letter words at a lot more than I did at Halo.
Yep. And so my winner for best...
Also, Halo is a campaign.
It does, yep. My winner for best first-person shooter of the year is also Halo 5.
What?
And I've played every first-person shooter this year. I would say in general this has been a really disappointing year for shooters. I was extremely let down by Battlefront. I was pretty let down by Black Ops 3. I thought the campaign in that game was almost unplayable, in all honesty. Like, I really had to drag my butt through the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 campaign, which I can't even believe I'm saying right now based upon Treyarch's track record. But a lot like you, Halo 5 was kind of the lesser of the evils. I felt like it did everything pretty well. Nothing really exceptional. The campaign, though, actually ended, even though I didn't really think it was that great when I first played through it, ultimately it ended up being probably the best first-person shooter campaign of 2015. I mean, well, first of all, Battlefront doesn't have one. And like I just said, Black Ops 3's campaign is completely forgettable and hard to get through. So it ended up having the best campaign. I don't agree with all the decisions they made on multiplayer, but I still do find myself going back to it and playing it every once in a while. Now that Big Team Battle is in the game, it is something I will go back to every once in a while to play, whereas before that was sort of included as some downloadable content I probably wouldn't have. But look at, again, when I do Game of the Year awards, I tend to try to look at the whole package, kind of like how we do with our game evals, and it's the most complete first-person shooter. It has the best campaign of the year. The multiplayer can compete with Black Ops 3 and Battlefront. Battlefront just lacks enough depth for me to ever give it like a best first-person shooter of the year. It's great fan service, and as a fan of Star Wars, I enjoy playing it. But for me, the longevity is just not there. Kind of once the shine's worn off of it. So, yeah, this is probably, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, but it's probably the worst first-person shooter I've ever given best first-person shooter of the year to. I hate to say that.
Sparse. You're a much bigger shooter guy than I am, but usually there's one or two that really stick in my mind, and it really wasn't. Halo's kind of, it was like, oh, I had a good Halo time playing Halo. It was more than Halo was a great shooter. It was more like, oh, you gave me the Halo experience and I wanted that, and that was cool. Although maybe next time we could have more than one damn boss.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Over and over and over again.
The Warden is not your finest hour there. 343.
Yeah, really disappointed. Who designs a game this day and age? It's like, we're going to have one boss that you fight 6 times throughout the whole game.
I don't know. But then
over and over again.
And I did, my friend and
he was cool and all, but...
Sure, the first time.
Yeah.
Sure. But then, my friend and I played through it, getting achievements, too, and, one of them was, when you fight, there's a point where you fight 3 of them.
Yeah.
And you have to kill 2 of them simultaneously.
Yeah.
And, hours.
Really?
Because the damage.
I didn't have a problem with that at all.
Well, no, it wasn't hard to kill them. It was hard to kill them simultaneously because you had to do exactly the same amount of
for an
damage.
achievement,
For the
you
achievement.
had- got it,
You had to
got
do
it.
them kill them exactly. You had to hit their death animations, at the same time.
That's insane. That's an
And,
insane achievement.
And at some point, my friend was just like, are you going to see the guy who designed this achievement at E3 or something? Because I hit him,
Punch him,
like push him in the pool with the fig or something. And I was like, well, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Probably thinking we only have time to make one character model.
I think the last thing I'll say about this game is that it doesn't feel 100% like Halo to me. Like, they have kind of gotten so far away from the formula at this point. I kind of understand why they did it.
And also, why are you so worried about me playing Master Chief?
Yeah.
Like, so much lock. Not that I don't like lock, but it was so heavily lock versus Master Chief that I'm like, I just feel like they didn't have enough story to cover the whole game.
It just doesn't make sense. It's like when people play Halo, they think of Master Chief and they want to play as Master Chief. Like, look, like the stuff that they did with the Arbiter or whatever, like, that was fine. Like, that was just a little, like, kind of splinter off the main highway, and then you kind of swerve back onto the road to play as Chief again. But this game, it was like, it may have been like 60-40 locked to Chief, so...
Oh, more than that, I think so, yeah.
But,
and then those 3 missions where you just, walk around and talk to people.
Yeah.
Here we are ripping the shit out of the game.
The game of the year.
As best shooter.
Yeah, so... That's it. Those are our picks for best first-person shooter of the year. As you can tell, we're not exactly enthused to have to give it to Halo 5, but...
Someone in the chat said, would you consider Dying Light a shooter? And I'm like, not really,
No.
but I do think I like that better than Halo.
I did not like it better than Halo.
I like that game. And it took until I got the grappling hook to like it a lot.
Yeah.
But I dug what they did with that, but I don't know where I'd put that.
One of the sleeper hits of 2015, though, Dying Light.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to the next category. This is a big one. Best Action Adventure. Again, no runners-up for this one, just the winner. Matt, what do you believe is the best action adventure of 2015?
My pick would be Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Hard to argue with.
Which I was also kind of a nice little surprise, because I liked the definitive edition. I played the definitive edition of Tomb Raider again this year to warm up.
Yeah.
And I really like what Crystal Dynamics did with kind of the reinvention of Lara. Like, I never really dug the old core design Tomb Raider games at all. I thought they were too weird and finicky and grid-based. And
Well, there are a lot of puzzle. They're
artificial.
real puzzle heavy, really.
Yeah. And so the fact that they kind of turned this into Uncharted with a little more gameplay meat on its bones, I would say.
Yeah.
It's not just a plain old shooter with some jumping mechanics. Tomb Raider, especially Rise of the Tomb Raider, digs into some of that a little more, and I like it. And I like the new version of Lara a lot, and very well performed. She's a believable character for a change, and I really like that. Kind of had the expedition, as opposed to the first game, which was all on one island.
Right.
This one goes to a bunch of different places and feels kind of like that Indiana Jones, globe trotting thing. And if this is the new direction for Tomb Raider, I am on board as long as they'll keep doing it.
What did you think of it compared to the original reboot?
The previous game?
Yeah.
I think it's much better.
Yeah.
I like the first game a lot. I way more than I thought, but the variety of setting and the crafting stuff kind of expand, which I thought was too much at first, but as I went on,
Yeah.
I felt like I kind of got a handle on it, and I sort of felt like it was actually a better way to handle it as opposed to just scrap. In the first one. And it took some lessons from Far Cry, which I like, and I don't have a lot of bad to say about that game. I just have a great time playing it.
I like the original reboot more, at least as far as the pros is concerned, because I felt like they did a better job of developing Lara in the first reboot instead of this one. This one, she's just a killer. I
still don't know why it's called Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I haven't figured that out either.
Because it's not Rise of the Tomb Raider feels like it's the beginning of her rise to prominence, or becoming the Tomb Raider or something.
But she'd really done that in the first reboot. Yeah.
So I don't know why it's called what it is. That's my only serious criticism. Is I don't know why you called it that.
Yeah. And if that's the case, that's pretty darn good. So, all right. So my winner for best action adventure of 2015 is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. So, obviously, we've talked about this game so much on this show.
And we'll continue to, I think.
Yeah, and not even just about the game, about the whole situation surrounding Konami and Kojima and all that stuff. But ultimately, when I really just look at it, I played this game for probably 60 hours. And look, Tomb Raider probably would have been my runner-up as well. I mean, it was right up there. But I just look at the value that I got out of the Phantom Pain and how it managed to keep me hooked for that amount of time. Like, by the time I finished Rise of the Tomb Raider, I felt like I was done with Rise of the Tomb Raider. Like, that 16 to 20-hour window was perfect for me. Because this was an open world game that had a lot more possibilities, a lot of more X and Y variables to it, I felt like it had had more longevity. Now, I would say the story was a big disappointment in the Phantom Pain. It did kind of get repetitive at times, but I felt like you were given enough little tools to tinker around with and enough flexibility in how you tackled each mission that you could kind of find your own way to play it. Like, I hardly even played stealth at all. Like, I pretty much played this game like it was a third-person shooter. Like, I just went in and tactically killed everybody instead of sneaking. Sometimes I would do it as a hybrid. Like, I'd sneak into a village and then take out a couple guys at the objective, and then I'd finish it off by shooting everybody. And just the fact that you could play the game that way, or however way you wanted, to me, kind of set it apart from the other action adventures this year. And then you start talking about like the production values and the wacky Kojima-ness of the game. Again, the story wasn't great, but you also had like the whole mother base thing. They did some really cool stuff with the online functionality of the game, with the whole forward operating base stuff where people could invade your base and you could invade
some
theirs.
questionable things later on with that update.
Oh yeah, of course. But again, this is another game where I feel like it was kind of the whole shebang instead of just like a single player like Tomb Raider. Like, it actually did some innovate. That actually was kind of innovative what they did with the online. Maybe I should have had that as my runner-up for most innovative. But on the whole, I felt like this was the most complete game. Not perfect again, and I think everyone who's played it could agree that it wasn't perfect. And I think a lot of Metal Gear fans ultimately may be a little disappointed in it. But I think if you look at the other action-adventure games that came out in 2015, I feel like this was the one that kind of rose above the rest. So,
The rise of the
rise
Metal Gear.
of the Metal Gear, yeah. So Kojima, congratulations. You got Best Action Adventure from me from your last Metal Gear game. Probably wasn't what I hoped it would be, but it was still really good, and in my opinion, the best action adventure of 2015. So, next category, Best Multiplayer Game. Matt, what's your winner?
My winner is Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Ultra, an old school game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it is old school now. If it came out like 2008.
Yeah. 7 years old.
Yeah, that's it's kind of the ultimate expression.
What does that say about the multiplayer games of 2015?
Well, I'm also not as big a multiplayer person as like you are.
Yeah.
So I don't, I'm a fighting game player from the arcades back in the early 90s, so this is sort of my multiplayer of choice anyway. Yeah. I just bought that Guilty Gear game that came out on Steam like yesterday, and I can't wait to go home and play it in 4K, but like, so fighting games to me are kind of like, that's what I do.
Yeah, for multiplayer,
competitively. Yeah. And Ultra Street Fighter 4, it's the ultimate expression of Street Fighter 4.
It's the ultimate expression of the genre. I mean, there's a reason why EVO, this is a tournament that everyone cares about and everyone watches. I mean, it is the definitive competitive fighting game right now, period.
Yep. And now it's over.
Yeah.
Capcom Cup
Usher in the new era now.
Capcom Cup was the end of Street Fighter 4 competition, and now Street Fighter 5 will take over in the new year. But I thought it was a great final version of the game, and I think it will be played, maybe not as at the official EVO track, Capcom Cup track anymore, but I think it will be played at tournaments and gatherings and friends' houses forever, for decades to come, just like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Well, look at it this way. It's 7 years later, and it's still the definitive fighting game.
And I'll also give it extra credit for bringing a lot of people into the fighting game world that never care about. Because I got friends now that have Street Fighter 5 pre-ordered who never would have cared a single thing about a fighting game before 4. Yeah. So Street Fighter 4...
You can probably credit EVO with that a little bit too, right?
Oh, yeah, but EVO also hotted up because Street Fighter 4 got so much interest. I mean, Street Fighter 4... Fighting games just weren't a thing unless you were.
They were kind of dying.
They were dead for a long time, and and all of a sudden, Street Fighter 4 just reinvigorated that, got everybody excited. Even people that never stopped playing fighting games like me. Well, I was playing with my friends on a Dreamcast or like at home or whatever. But now Street Fighter 4 came out, and all of a sudden, Capcom was sponsoring tournaments, and EVO. Everybody wanted to know who was going to win, and people said, I know friends who I never took to an arcade in my life, and they know who Justin Wong is and Mike Ross and all these guys, and it's great. It's the best it's been since Street Fighter 2 came out when I was in high school. It's a great time.
Yep, it sure is. I have no qualms with that pick at all. It's a good pick. My choice for best multiplayer game of 2015 is Rocket League. And
Rocket League is great.
Yes.
It's just great.
So here's the thing about Rocket League is when it first came out, first of all, I feel a little weird giving this game an award at all in 2015 because technically the game has been around for like a long time.
Yeah,
like,
the proceed was it a PC kind of first gamey thing?
Right, yeah, and it was
had
like
a weird title.
Yeah, it had like
Super
literally
Rocket
like
Cars or something.
Yeah, it had
that.
like literally like a 10-word
Yeah.
title or whatever. So I do feel a little weird, but honestly, one of the smartest things the developer ever did was making it free on PlayStation Network.
Yep.
I mean,
I never would have looked at it.
Nobody
twice.
would have, and it's like that's the thing about free to play is like this is the perfect example of how free to play can work and why it does work. Because they also did it very intelligently. You know, now they're charging for updates, but people are so hooked on the game that they're willing to pay $1 or $2 for some new cosmetics for the game.
And that is actually one of the great things about the game, I think, that they've also done really right, is like you think when you play this game, like, oh, it'd be great if I could like be like the DeLorean and Back to the Future. And there it is. And like a week later, they're like, oh, in celebration of Back to the Future, you know, this is the 2015, you know, date that Marty goes to. We're putting out the DeLorean, and like, it's crazy. Like they are like 2 steps ahead of like your fondest wishes in this game.
So I do feel a little weird giving it an award because it has been out for a long time, but this is the year that it hit it big and everybody played it. And so one thing I would say about the game is for the first month that I played it, I was completely addicted to the game. As I gradually built my skills, like I just got obsessed with it, and because I wanted to be good at it, because I could see a couple players here and there who were good, and I was like, all right, there's some depth underneath here. But the one thing I would say is that like once I got really good at the game, I didn't keep playing it much longer after that because the matchmaking in this game is so terrible. And once you get good at it, it's very hard to tolerate people who suck at the game because all it takes is one mistake and you lose a game. And so you have these people who won't play as a team, who are just greedy for gold. That was the other problem.
Going for the ball.
Exactly. It's like the key to this game is spreading out. That's how you win at the game. And you can sit there on your chat and just tell them, spread out, spread out. No. Everybody wants the glory. And if they don't want the glory, they just flat out suck. And so my tolerance for people who were not good at the game was such that I really needed to rely on the matchmaking for it. And the matchmaking was awful. I actually haven't played it in like a month or 2 now. So maybe it's gotten better. But
not really. Because I still play. I'll say this for this game. It's the only game in a long time I can remember where I'm over at someone's house and they're over at mine and someone will just be like, hey, put on Rocket League.
Right.
We'll just put on Rocket League, but we'll play online and just pass the controller around and everybody just is like, yeah, like,
there's also,
it's fun to watch.
There's also couch play.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can play it locally with a split screen if you want to.
But I'm like, you know, I'm a born and bred fullback.
Yeah.
in soccer / football, whatever you want to call it. So I like hanging back, kind of midfield. I like knocking it back up, kicking it, clearing the ball off to the sides and stuff. And like it was just like it got frustrating for me because I would do that, and then like you just see these idiots just like mess around over on the ball, and then like inevitably the ball would just come back to me, and I'm just like, try it again, morons.
And it's not even like you have to be a genius or a great player. It's like you just stay away. There's one guy after the ball. You stay over here. So you know what?
He has someone to pass to.
Right. If you stay away, you'll get the goal, bro. Like
stay in the middle.
Yeah. But look, in a lot of ways, that's not really Rocket League's fault.
Right.
I mean, other than the matchmaking issues. So as far as like the most fun I had playing multiplayer this year, like that was it because everything else was something that I had played before or done before. And look, I play a lot of sports games online. I play FIFA, I play NHL, and it is similar to those games. But what I liked about it is that you don't have to be great to enjoy playing the game. Like FIFA and Madden online, it's just brutal,
complex,
dude. Like I jump on FIFA and I'll get beat like 13-2. Like sometimes I won't touch the ball for like 20 minutes because the people that play are so good, the ball never touches the ground. Like they literally just head it from one player to the other all the way down the field. So this game, like anybody can jump in and have fun with it. And, you know, even when I was first starting, it's kind of there's this evolution of playing Rocket League where you first start and you're just happy, like bounding the ball around. And then it's like, okay, I want to be good enough to like actually pass accurately, and you get that down. And then you finally get to the place where you can actually jump up and you can like soar like way farther using that mechanic to hit the ball. And so there's like a nice little learning curve to it. And like I said, for a month I was hopelessly addicted to it. I don't play it so much now. But to me, that was the most fun I had playing multiplayer this year, and that's what's really important. So,
it's a great pick.
That is my pick. Let's move on. The next category, Best Adventure Game. This is a genre that has been crazy resurgent in the last couple of years.
Talk about dormant.
Yeah, I mean, before, and I would say right before The Walking Dead came out,
the genre was done. It was
You had to dig. I mean, there was some good stuff coming. It was like a culprit nada here and there.
Weird
but
little PC releases. Like, you had to really be into the genre to even know the stuff was coming out. And so The Walking Dead kind of turned everything on its head. And in fact, the Game Awards giving Game of the Year to The Walking Dead was a big turning point for the genre as well. Since then, it's been all green grass and blue skies. I mean, the genre has really changed and stepped up. I don't know that I would really play a lot of just regular point-and-click games anymore. I feel like I did kind of burn out on this, and most people did, obviously.
I love this genre. The LucasArts games were some of my favorites. I have played The Longest Journey, the original Longest Journey. I have played that game from start to finish at least 5 times.
Yeah.
And that's a long game. That's
is,
a well-named game.
Yeah.
It's a very long game. But I love a well-told point-and-click story or an adventure story, and it's nice to see them coming back with the modern enhancements of, being able to tell these stories in a different way, cinematically, with 3D graphics and being right in the middle of it, and more like a movie or a TV show.
Yep.
And the episodic DLC format has really opened things up.
It has, definitely. So with all that in mind, what is your winner for the best adventure game of 2015?
My winner for best adventure game would be Life is Strange.
Good pick.
Which I am a huge, huge David Lynch fan. And it is very, very David Lynch.
Lynchian, yeah.
Some great performances by Ashley Birch as Chloe, and I don't remember the actress who plays Max, but she is also excellent. A really interesting kind of take on sort of, kind of, they're either I guess they're in they're seniors in high school, but it's like a really good take on kind of like this the sort of ennui and loneliness of being,
an awkward teen.
An awkward teen that everybody went through. And kind of, the other interesting thing, I think one of the things that hooked me early was when you go around and talk to a lot of the other people that are all the kids that are in different cliques from you.
Yeah.
Except for the one, except for the very, the designated antagonists, they're not jerks to you really.
Yeah.
They're different. They aren't into what you're into. They don't really want to hang out with you, but they're not instant assholes.
Right.
And I like that. It's no, this is what we do. What do you don't care? Okay, go away. Whatever. And so it wasn't a cartoony portrayal of that kind of situation. I believed it in a lot of ways. And then of course it gets weirder and weirder and weirder and crazier as they introduce more and more strange stuff, and the title becomes basically a giant understatement.
Yeah.
But I was into it. It all really worked for me, and anyone who's willing to pick up a cinematic adventure game should play it.
Yep, and my adventure game of 2015 is also Life is Strange. We don't line up on a ton of categories, but this is one where we do. I loved this game. Every time I would finish an episode, I could not wait to play the next one. I was lucky in that when I started playing it, there were already 4 episodes out. And so I kind of played the first 4 episodes all in a row and then had to wait for the 5th one. So I still got to experience that longing that you have when you're playing an episodic game waiting for the next one to come out. The story in this game is just incredible. The writing is really good. The voice acting is great. The whole time flipping mechanic is handled really well. It was one of the most unique games I played this year. It's the most unique adventure game I've probably ever played since maybe I was 15 or whatever, when the genre was really kind of taking off. I just loved every minute of it. I loved that it was set in a contemporary time and it wasn't set in some weird fantasy land or whatever. They do the things that teens do now. They went to rave parties and drove around in their car talking. I just really enjoyed how it was very relevant to pretty much anyone who's going to play it at this point. I thought they wrote the characters really well so that they weren't really archetypes or stereotypes. There really wasn't that generic jock in the game or the generic nerdy goth in the game. They were all kind of shades of those sort of archetypes of people. And so,
even if a character did come off like that, usually shortly thereafter there was a way to kind of break through that and see more about who they are.
Right. For example, the jock that you actually come into contact with in the game. You see him, you're oh, there's the jock guy, and he's talking about football with his buddies or whatever, but he actually turns out to be one of the more understanding, down-to-earth people that Max ends up interacting with. So, again, I mentioned this before, I think, in a prior episode of GameFace, but, the fact that this game was not developed in the U.S., really shocks me, because they really nail what it's like to be a teenager in America. And so
Every once in a while, you get like an outside the U.S. developer that like really nails the American thing. I mean, look at Rockstar.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they pretty much do live in the United States.
Well, but the original team is Scottish.
Well, the Housers though, they lived in New York for like ever, and like they're pretty much Americans, and they are the ones who drive that franchise, and they're the ones who say yay or nay to literally everything. I have a friend that worked at Rockstar for like 5 years, and I've heard some crazy stories about working with those guys. So, yeah, but you're right. It's so rare to find developers from outside the U.S. that can nail U.S. culture without it being snarky too, because that's the other thing about Rockstar. Like they make fun of American
mocking
culture.
the whole thing. Yeah,
And
this one just captures it.
Right, exactly.
And it captures it in that kind of absurd Blue Velvet way
Yeah.
that David Lynch managed to pull off so many times, where it's like where he's so interested in sort of the terror of the mundane and sort of how weird things are that we just take for granted.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the things Life is Strange really does is it highlights the weirdness that people deal with in an everyday sense by introducing like outlandish and fantastical elements that really highlight how strange normal day-to-day life is for these people.
For real.
And it's very smart and it's very clever, and it's told with some real care.
And they introduce a supernatural element to it and doesn't completely ruin the whole thing, which is really dicey. It could have easily just completely ruined the whole other part of the plot. And so, there's a lot of emotional parts in the game. If you have not played it yet, go play it. I don't know how many more people are going to have to tell you that you should play Life is Strange.
Yeah,
but,
I hope
but here's
people,
2 more.
Yeah, I hope people took advantage of the $10 on PlayStation 4 deal during the Game
Yeah.
Awards aftermath, because that was, I know it doesn't come out on PlayStation until February, but like, if you got that for $10, that's some of the best $10 you're going to spend on gaming.
You have plenty to play right now anyway.
True.
You can wait until February to play it. All right, let's move on to the next category. Best indie game. Matt, what is your pick for best indie game?
My pick for best indie game is a little game called Rebel Galaxy.
And it is a little game.
Well, it's not. It's gigantic.
Right.
But no one's ever heard of it.
Yeah. Like we actually do not have a game page on Sifted for this game.
Oh, I think I win something for that. Right? Rebel Galaxy is if you ever played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, it is the pirate ship combat in space.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. And it's like a big open universe thing, and you go into space stations, and it's like a story about your aunt is missing, and you go to find her because she sent you a message saying, come meet me on this space station, and you go, and you're met by this alien you've never met, and it turns out your aunt's some kind of smuggler or something, so you end up with some special artifact, and there's a whole story about being chased around. But it's mostly you can go into the missions thing. It's a little like Elite Dangerous, where you can go and get missions and do missions for people, and they send you around the various universe. Right. There is no Z-axis. You can't fly up and down, but you can fly left and right, forward, back.
Right.
And you fly like a giant capital ship, and so you fire broadsides of lasers out, and you can switch to your turrets and take out individual bombers and fighters coming in and stuff. And you explore this giant universe, and it's all done with kind of this rockabilly soundtrack and sort of this.
That's crazy.
It's got a Firefly sort of Old West
Cats.
Sort of thing going on, and so it's all these I don't know if the music was made for the game or if it was it's just a genre that the guys who made the game exploited as part of the tone, but it's very much an Old West Firefly style sort of space game, and it came out of nowhere, and I just I think Steam just was popped it up in my recommendations. I'm like, oh, what's that? And I was like, that's pretty. And so I just
how did they know you spent so much money on Star Citizen?
Oh, that's not the only space game I have. Believe
I'm
me.
sure. I'm just joking.
But no. So yeah, Rebel Galaxy it's $15, and it's probably the best $15 I spent this year on indie games.
Well, I will check that out on your recommendation, Matt. My pick for best indie game of 2015 is Ori and the Blind Forest. And so here's the weird thing about how I came to the conclusion on this. Usually with indie games, because they're cheap and they're generally quicker and easier to make, a lot of times you find a lot of innovation in indie games. And, I don't really find a lot of that in Ori, to be honest with you. It doesn't have, some weird gimmick where it's
It's pretty much a straightforward Metroidvania.
Yeah, it's a great side-scrolling platformer. But here's the thing. So this game that you could buy, I think it came out at $20. Is that right, when it first launched? I know it was a little bit more expensive than most indie games.
20 sounds right.
I enjoyed this game way more than the last, 3 2D Mario games that I've played. I loved the crap out of this game. And kind of going back to the theme I've been mentioning throughout these awards so far is it's kind of the complete game. It has Amazing visuals, probably the best visuals for an indie game from this year. In fact, this was
I came real close to putting this on best graphics.
exactly, man. This was almost right there as my
Yeah.
runner-up for best graphics, and so it has the great visuals. It actually does have some really cool gameplay mechanics in it that you don't see in other games. It's a pretty lengthy, beefy game. It just felt like the most complete indie game from the year that is also excellent. It doesn't really have a gimmick, but the other part of it too is that it's very emotional. And at the end of the game, it does get a little cheap. I felt like they didn't wrap it up very well, but there was a couple times where I got misty-eyed playing this game. Like, they do a very good job of tugging on your heartstrings. And so, for the great story, the great setting, the amazing visuals, the outstanding art design, the laser-tight gameplay, the challenge that is perfectly tuned. It's hard, but it's not too hard. I just thought it was an amazing game. Again, better than a lot of $59.99 games that have been put out that are 2D side-scrolling platformers. So my winner for best indie game of 2015 is Ori and the Blind Forest. So
That's a good one.
let's move on to the next category, best story.
All right.
And this is, to me, this category should just be called Best Lesser of All Evils, because in my opinion, video game stories almost always suck. So, Matt,
Unusual to find a great one.
It is very hard, and even the ones that we consider great, if you compare it to the best stories in film or even television, it's still generally a cut below. So,
Yeah.
Matt, what was your favorite story from 2015?
My favorite story from 2015 is The Witcher 3.
Witcher 3?
And not even the main. I mean, the main story of Witcher 3 is definitely solid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's got the political intrigue you expect from The Witcher. It brings in Yennefer, who's this character we've heard about for 2 games.
Yep.
And read about if you read the books. But you haven't seen her in the game series until now, and finally reunited, and you have some decisions to make regarding that.
Yep.
But the thing that really sells me on The Witcher is the side quests. I think the side quests in this game, writing-wise, are better than most other games' main stories.
I would agree, 100%.
And there are a couple side quests in this game that just blew. I mean, I love the fact that you can start one of the contracts, just okay, kill monster. You got to kill, and it's oh, this isn't here. This isn't a monster. It's oh, track this blood trail. It's oh, what's this underground hidden thing? This letter says that this, and I guess go talk to the person who's in this letter.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes later, you're in a totally different story.
And you forgot what the original.
You forgot what you're doing, and then
Yep.
but I gotta say the one that I will always hold up as an example is the quest called Family Matters, which involves the Bloody Baron, and it's pretty early on, but it gets dark it deals with some very dark issues. And
that was what I loved about the story in this game, period.
Absolutely.
Was how dark it would get.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd be okay, here's my next mission. You'd follow the marker or whatever. You get there, you'd see the character you're supposed to interact with. You're oh, this is going to be a goofy, fun mission. And next thing you know, you're put into this weird, moral quandary that you never expected.
Which is big on that, because the Bloody
it tests your morality big time.
And the Bloody Baron is this big, fat, bombastic dude, and you think the quest is going to be about dealing with this guy being an
Let's go collect him some food or something.
And it turns out to be a really dark, emotional, grind, and then a couple other quests end up tying into what you're trying to do at the in terms of the overall arc of that quest. And I'm not going to say what any of it is in case someone hasn't. You really should have played this game by now, but if you haven't, I'm not going to say anything about it because you need to discover what this quest is actually.
Well, a lot
about
of people may be playing it, but just haven't made it there yet.
That's true
so
too.
Huge.
It's gigantic. There's still stuff, and that's the thing.
Some people just start and just splinter off right from the beginning.
I mean, I'm 120 hours into this game. I am still not. I'm kind of saving the end of the game until later.
That's hilarious.
I'm just about to start the Hearts of Stone thing. I mean, this game is gigantic.
It really is, yeah. And to have that level of writing and prose across
and it just
that
continually,
much.
I think it's done surprising me or blowing me away with what, and I'm and every once in a while it still has a quest where I'm just that was really cool, really smart. And I'll tell you, I know that I can't remember her name, but there's one particular woman who writes for them who wrote that Bloody Baron quest and did all that. And if they have her on Cyberpunk, I cannot wait to see what she comes up with in that world, because that should be equally horrific and amazing.
Yep. If I had a runner-up, it would have been The Witcher 3. But my winner is, and we just talked about this game, Life is Strange.
Which would have been my runner-up.
Yeah. This game, literally, at times, I felt like it was going to break my brain, because as the episodes start to wear on, because you have this whole time-shifting mechanic, there's, in I think it's the third episode, there's something that happens that makes you realize the depth of what has been happening in the first 3 episodes, and it makes you kind of go back and rethink everything that had happened before. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically what I love about this plot, other than how I talked about the characters earlier when we were talking about it for the other category, is just how it makes you think about everything differently. And then at the end, there's like a twist, and there's one part where like you're put in a really tough decision, not even related to you, but related to like a family member of your best friend, and like it plays with the moral issues of changing what's already happened, I guess is the best way to put it. And how you may think, oh, something really bad happened in the past, if I can just go back and switch it, but you don't realize that switching it could end up with even worse consequences than what had originally happened. And so, just the way it made me think about everything that happened in the story, and how it was smart with the callbacks, but it wasn't like stuff that you'd forget. Like a lot of times in games or even movies, like there are these twists that like the director or the developer thinks are really intelligent, but they'll fly right over your head because it was something that was important to him, but you didn't really pick up on it while you were playing the game. Like the way they structured the story in this, like the important beats are registered in your mind as important, so that later on when you need to recall them, you actually can. So I love the story in this game. I loved all the characters in the game. Again, talking earlier about how there aren't really any archetypes or stereotypes. I just really loved it. And the story, it isn't the gameplay that keeps you hooked on this game, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, the gameplay is very simple. Walk around, fiddle with stuff.
And the gameplay is entirely centered around, building the story and altering the story and choosing where the story goes.
Exactly. And the other
I also give them credit for it's established very early in the game that your character Max has a reputation for being nosy.
Right. Yeah.
Which is really funny. In an adventure game, what do? You look at everything you take
stuff.
Yeah. It's like and you can actually get in trouble for taking things that aren't yours. But the great thing is like you can do that time reversal thing and undo.
Some stuff. And see, they're smart about that too.
But then you get away with you still get the information of the thing you took or read, but you don't piss off the person who it belonged to.
Yeah.
Which, and then of course there's they don't ignore that aspect of it later on. So
I also love too that it's a game where you're making decisions in the dialogue trees, and they're really smart too, like you said about not letting you rewind everything.
Yeah.
There are consequences. Because when you can rewind anything, it's like then there's no weight to the decisions you're making. But they don't let you rewind everything. And the story does splinter off in different directions. In a lot of games, like, they'll send you off in a direction, but ultimately they bring you right back to that one path. Yeah. And this game does it right to the bitter end. Literally, the last thing you do in the game is make a huge decision that gives you different endings. And I mean, I don't know how they're going to deal with that ultimately in the sequel, because they're already talking a little bit about there's going to be more of them. I don't know which ending they're going to choose as canon, so to speak. But just the fact that they paid it off. And that doesn't happen enough in games. Remember Mass Effect 3, the big uproar over that?
It's not a choose your color.
No, this game pays off like the decisions that you've made. And it makes the game, here's the other thing too, it makes the game easier or more difficult based upon a lot of your decisions as well. So,
and the other thing I love is at the end of an episode it shows you all the decisions you made and the percentages of your friends list who made what decision. So you get a percentage of like 75% of the people on your friends list did this, 25 did this. And you look at it and you're like, and it was after the first episode.
I'm so different from my friends.
No, the first episode, every single choice I picked was the same thing like the majority picked. And I was like, oh, I feel so
dirty.
Why
am I like everybody else?
I thought I was a hero.
That's why you're friends with those people, though, because you think about things similarly. So there's a lot of depth. We could talk about the story in Life is Strange for hours.
But. And it's very understanding and it's set up to go back and do things differently without fucking up your save.
Yep, for sure, yeah.
You can go back and like pick up collectibles. You can go back and it'll instantly let you start from anywhere in a different save slot, so you can always go back and see other options. It's very...
And sometimes I just use rewind just to see what the other option was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just because I'm curious. I'm like, oh, well, what would happen if I'd have done something else? And if it let me rewind it, then I would. Mm-hmm. So...
And it's such an interesting story mechanic that it took me a while to, like, get it through
to wrap your head around that. Yeah.
And a couple times I was like, I'm so used to adventure games where I picked the wrong thing, and I was like, well, screwed that up. Just walk away. And it wasn't until like the next section, like, wait, I could have gone back and then gotten it right. Oh, like it's really.
It actually took me a while too. I didn't think I really picked up on it until like the second episode, and then I was just obsessed with it. Like every decision, I'd be like, well, I'm going to roll it back and see what would have happened if I chose something else. So, just the flexibility it gave you. Like, what game can you say that really lets you do that? None.
Not really.
So,
especially the sense of like just that it doesn't have that thing where like, okay, you can pick all the different ways to say this dialogue, but in the end, the other character you're talking to is going to respond to you the same way, one way or the other.
Yep.
And like that artificiality is not in this game.
Yep. So that's my favorite story of 2015. Let's move on to the next. And I actually love this topic. I came up with this award out of the blue. It just popped into my head, but I love the concept behind it. This category is called Future Legend. And basically what we're doing is we're picking the one game that we believe will be talked about the most 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, or 30 years from now. What game from 2015 do you think is going to have that kind of resonance, Matt?
I think it will be Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
How come?
Because it was the end of an era that has existed since basically we were children.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes, Metal Gear on the MSX goes back to the mid 80s, early 80s.
Yeah.
The only reason I know it's after Big Trouble in Little China. Like we know that, right? But an Escape from New York, obviously. But I think because it was the final Metal Gear game by Kojima. It was surrounded by the Kojima firing, dismissal, all the drama around Konami and what Konami is doing with its properties and whether they're even making games anymore, and and the PT thing. And I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is just going to be kind of emblematic of that whole piece of turmoil. And I know there's tons of people who are going to pick it as their game of the year.
Yeah, I mean that's the other part of it. Like it's a great game.
Yeah,
so.
And I think it feels unfinished. It feels you can see the game he wanted to make that's not there. Really, it's sad to me. And that's the thing is playing the game has this weird sense of melancholy, both in the sense that like it feels unfinished. It doesn't feel like what he wanted to make fully, but also that element of like this is the last one is in that game. Like he knew. Like they knew,
yeah, you can tell.
It's in there for sure. And like it's kind of like this. It's this very long goodbye in a lot of ways. And so I think that's going to stick with people. I think if Konami has, I don't know if to call it the balls or the gall to make another one.
They'll make another one, Matt.
Like, how is that going to be received? Who's going to step up and do it? What is the fan base going to feel about that? Like I think Metal Gear Solid 5 will be a touchstone for a very long time because it was the last Kojima game from Metal Gear
and from Konami. I mean, look, he hasn't
he
just made Metal Gear.
I mean,
he made Zone of the Enders and like weird games like Boktai.
Yeah.
Like
he got his hands in Castlevania for Lords of Shadow. I mean, he defined that company for a very long time, and I think that game is just going to be seen as a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's going to depend who you are. But even if you hate Metal Gear and don't care about Metal Gear, you have to acknowledge that game as A, an amazing exit, and B, like a giant stone marker for an era.
Also, an open world Japanese game.
Yeah.
How many of those are there? I can't think of another one. Can you?
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah. That's like an RPG though, like an open world like action adventure game.
Not too many.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't think of any.
Not on the scale of Metal Gear.
I mean, no. Yakuza, kind of.
Yakuza a little bit. But again, Yakuza has a lot of RPG elements. You're talking about a game that's literally, like, just in the sense of like an Assassin's Creed kind of thing. Like, Metal Gear Solid 5 is about it. And again, he was very influenced by Assassin's Creed. That's what he wanted to make. There's a story about how he wanted to make Metal Gear Solid 4 a big open thing, and his team told him they couldn't do it, and then he went and they saw Assassin's Creed announced for the first time at E3 that year, and went back and said, "You lied to me."
Yeah.
And that's what he's been wanting to make forever. Yeah. And like you can see that in Metal Gear Solid 4 warming up, and now he finally got to do it in 5.
Yep, I think that's a good pick. I think we'll definitely be talking about that game for a long time to come. My winner for Future Legend Award is Splatoon. New IP from Nintendo, which sadly we hardly ever get
Not
anymore.
Common. No.
I mean, it's sad, but it's true. Like, what was the last new IP that would really hit? It was Pikmin, probably.
Yeah, Pikmin or Animal Crossing, which came first? I don't remember which one came first.
I don't know either, actually. But you're right. That's probably the other one would be Animal Crossing. This game came out of nowhere to be a smash hit. It's really freaking weird. It is. It's just weird. It plays like no other game on the market. I am completely, supremely confident this is going to become another feather in Nintendo's cap, a franchise that we're going to see sequel after sequel to for many years to come. Nintendo has wanted a shooter franchise to call its own ever since GoldenEye, pretty much. It has been unable to do it. It finally did do it by doing something completely different. The hype for this franchise is just getting started, man. Like, this is the first game. It is fun. I had a blast with it. It's a good game. It's not like it stinks, and it's one of those brainwash jobs by Nintendo where Nintendo fans are buying it just because it's their hot new IP. I had a ton of fun playing it. I still have a ton of fun playing it. They're supporting it very well with DLC. I wouldn't be surprised if in the first couple years in the NX we get Splatoon 2 or whatever the heck they end up calling it. I just think
Splatoon.
Yeah, I just think 20 years from now we'll be at like Splatoon 5 or whatever. And this will be the game that they pointed back to because, this game probably should have flopped. Like, it still blows my mind how successful this game is. I think the other part of it, too, is that it's a shooter that kids can play. And adults like to play it, too, which has kind of been Nintendo's ace up the sleeve always, is that they can manage to make games that both adults and kids like to play. And I think this was the genre that I thought they had the least chance of doing that. So I think Splatoon is a game that we're going to be talking about for a long time, or a franchise we're going to be talking about for a long time. It debuted this year, so it is my Future Legend Award winner for 2015. All right. This is a fun category. Most pleasant surprise, Matt.
My pick for most pleasant surprise is Star Wars: The Old Republic: Knights of the Fallen Empire.
That's a mouthful.
The new we're not calling it an expansion. I guess it's a new content offering or something from SWTOR, the MMO, the Old Republic MMO, which I did really enjoy. I played when it launched, and I got my character to 50, finished her story, and that was about it. It was a long, grindy game, but
I think this game's sort of history has been long and grindy.
Yeah, but but they have the thing is and they put up a major update patch alongside this expansion, and it basically turns it into a single player game. Like, you only have to play your character's story and some of the planet story quest chains. You can, it took me 20 some days to get my first character to 50 when the game launched. I got 2 characters to 60 in 2 weeks.
Wow.
when this thing was happening, because they it's like something like 6 times experience on your story missions.
Right.
And they also did a level scaling thing that everybody screamed about, but it actually really works, because it means anytime you do anything, it scales the level to wherever you are. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, whatever you're interested in doing, you're getting a proper amount of experience for that.
Right.
So if you just want to play the space battle stuff, which is all a lot of fun, you get decent experience, as opposed to previous to that patch, you got like 2 experience,
right.
For nothing, because you were out leveling everything. And now, then once you get up to up to 60, get everything finished. It's very standard MMO. It's just faster. But then Knights of the Fallen Empire, the actual expansion, is an entirely story-driven, Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare style RPG. You don't do MMO stuff in it. You go through designed dungeon areas, and you're still playing it like MMO.
Maybe I'd actually enjoy it.
Yeah, it still plays like an MMO because that's how the controls are. That's what the game is. But you're not grouping with other players. You're not playing fetch quests. You are playing a narrative that goes through all this. In the same way, it's almost an adventure game now. For that, and then once that's over, they still got some episodes left to come out over the next few months. It's like 6 months. I think they put out 9 episodes or something, and now one more episode comes out per month until June to finish the story. But this is pretty much what SWTOR is now, and I think it's a tremendous turnaround, an amazing. I played it years ago, and I never really went back to it more than a couple times a year. And when that patch hit, I played this game for a month straight, and I hadn't touched it in forever, and it was great. And,
that's an achievement for a game that's been around that long.
Yeah, and they really.
Again, you're a big Star Wars fan.
I am a big Star Wars fan, but that's not going to save you from. Not going to save you from having a boring game.
That's for the first 8 hours, yeah.
Right.
That'll get you through the first 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah. So this one, it really does feel old school BioWare in a good way. So I would say if you like Knights of the Old Republic at all, give Fallen Empire a shot. And also, if you join as a subscriber, you get all the expansion content, with that 1 month subscription. and you get and it stays for free. You have to be a subscriber to get the subsequent episodes, but you can get access to everything right away for a month. That should give you enough time to know if you like it or not. And they let you create a level 60 character off the bat, so you don't have to play the main game.
Crazy.
You just jump right into the expansion story content.
Smart, but crazy.
Yeah, so I was super surprised to see that game had some serious life in it, even these many years later.
Still looks good too, because they used an art style that doesn't really get old.
Yeah, the art style holds up. I think kind of like World of Warcraft, where it's like, you cartoony it up a little bit, and it
gives it some
holds.
extra longevity. So my pick for most pleasant surprise is Until Dawn. I was blown away by this game.
This is the one game I wanted to play in time for this I didn't manage to get to.
Yeah, I expected nothing out of it. I really thought this game was going to stink. Like, I really had given it no hope. And usually I don't try to, like, build up, like, my opinion of a game, like, before I play it. But for whatever reason with this one, I think part of it was the development history. Like, it just didn't have a great history, like the development studio. So my expectations were low for this one. I was blown away. This game also was very close to winning, like, best story for me.
I was kind of expecting you to give best story to this one because you were so impressed by what it did.
Yeah, because it also is one of those games that isn't linear at all. Like, it really branches off and gives you, like, 10 different endings. But for this one, like, the writing and the characters, the characters really were, like, the archetypes. Mm-hmm. And, look, it was emulating a slasher
movie,
horror flick, so you're kind of supposed to have the jock and the nerd and all that. But ultimately, it didn't have the emotional impact on me that Life is Strange did. So that's why I kind of gave the nod to Life is Strange. But blown away by this game. Like, again, my expectations were so low, and I think that's what plays into a lot of surprises. Like, what was your expectation before you played it versus what was your impression after you played it? And so for me, Until Dawn was, mind-blowingly great compared to where I thought it was going to be. And I'm a big horror fan as well. That doesn't hurt. But I think most people probably never saw this game being as good as it was. I think a lot of people saw, like, the butterfly effect trailers and were like, yeah, right, like, that's really going to work. And because we've heard that a million times and it never did. It actually did work in this game, so...
Yeah, anybody making a game that features stuff like that should probably be angry with David Cage.
Yeah.
Because he's trained us to not believe.
You're right. Yeah. So that's my pick for most pleasant surprise of 2015. Let's move on to biggest news story from 2015. Matt, what's your choice?
My choice was maybe not entirely unpredictably, considering what we talked about a couple of categories ago, but my choice would be the Kojima-Konami meltdown.
Yeah.
Just because it was, again...
we've talked about it on this show.
Yeah, end of an era, like, really nasty, like, just in ways it didn't need to be. And I hope somehow one day we find out what exactly happened behind the scenes, because, like, it just seems such a... Like, okay, even if you don't want to deal with the guy anymore, like, he buoyed your company for, like, 3 decades almost. Like, how do you... Like, it's just so weird that they would want to burn that bridge so thoroughly with him. I don't understand what would have happened to make them so cavalier about doing, even up to and including the thing with the Game Awards where they forbid him from coming to accept an award for the game, which just like God, what happened? Like, he was there forever. Like, does he have no friends in the higher? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like it's just a bunch of question marks, because I've worked in a lot of creative
I think they just got fed up with him.
I guess, but I've worked in creative situations where a lot of people didn't get along, but I can't think of a situation where everyone was just, like, scorched earth that shit given a chance. I mean, it's just... Actually, I guess that did happen in a couple of particular situations.
I can think of a couple.
I can think of a couple times that did happen. But, like...
Stakes is high.
Yeah, but it just, like... Wow. Like, it just, wow. Like, I
mean,
watched every single development of that, my jaw dropped again. I'm not
every
even
time. Every time I thought I was done with it. Like, some new development would happen, and I would just I'm so invested in it, like, all over again. And, like,
I'm not a huge Kojima fan. Like, I think
me either.
I think a lot of his stuff
I respect him and whatnot, but I don't enjoy a lot of his games.
I just kind of, a lot of it's just like, ugh,
yeah,
really?
A lot of it's superfluous, yeah.
But, like, I just can't imagine how do you treat that guy like that? And then that makes me think, like, what if he did something really horrible? Like, what if there's a good reason for it?
Yeah, there could be that Konami can't really talk about or whatever.
And the thing about taking his name off everything, I've always wondered if, like, maybe there was something in his contract that if he's not working for them, they can't use his name to advertise.
That could be. I mean, look, we don't know.
We don't know
half
we
of
absolutely
what's going
don't know
on there. I mean, and look, from a financial perspective, I could get what Konami's
perspective on it. Like, I could see why they may not be happy with him, but here's the thing. If you have a product that you've already invested, let's say $100 million in for development, you're sick of Kojima and he's taken 3 years longer than you're supposed to, that's fine that you're angry about it. But wait. You wait until you're already in for $100 million.
Yeah.
And so he's
you can't just like throw it out there and hope it works out and so it's over. Like, you
placed your bet at that point. Like, you just let it ride until the game comes out, or even until like 6 months, until it's like sales windows passed. Like, you don't raise a stink like that with people that, and maybe wrongfully, people kind of put him on a pedestal. Maybe we don't know the whole story, but like it or not, most players think he's like a gaming god, and so you don't pee all over a gaming god right before his game comes out.
There's like no winning on that, because like even if he was totally wrong and Konami was totally right, I think we as gamers are always going to side with the guy who made the games we loved. Yeah. As opposed to the faceless corporation.
Even if it comes out later that Kojima was a complete douchebag or whatever, or broke contracts, or was just a jerk to Konami, like, it doesn't matter now, because Konami was a jerk already. And so it could have sat back and like waited, and if it's true that Kojima did something shady or shifty or didn't live up to the expectations that he had given Konami, if they had waited, like, it would have been all good. Nobody would have hated Konami. They probably still wouldn't have hated Kojima, but they wouldn't have hated Konami. And now it's to the point that even if it comes out later that Kojima actually was the problem in this whole situation, people still are going to hate Konami. So
it's hard to imagine what he could have done that would have justified that kind of treatment in the public eye.
It's just poor corporate strategy on Konami's part, period.
And very weird from a Japanese company.
It is
like
weird.
Normally it's all about like keeping everything copacetic and making sure everything's looks fine, nothing's wrong. Everybody keeps their dignity and keeps the respect going. But like in this case, it was just like, oh, like just both barrels. Screw. I just don't get it. Like, I have no idea what could have happened behind the scenes to create such a situation. And it was just fascinating to watch that unfold.
It's still fascinating.
Yeah.
Still,
and it will continue to be fascinating. Future legend, 10 years from now, we're probably still going to be finding out little tidbits of what happened this year.
I mean, think about it. Whenever Kojima moves on and announces his first new game, we're going to talk about this again.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we'll be talking about
when
this
they announce the new Metal Gear game
on GameFace, I guarantee it.
When Guillermo del Toro finally teams up with Kojima to do something, because it sounds like he really wants to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, honestly, that is the biggest news story of 2015, but I went with my heart a little bit on this one, and my biggest news story is Iwata's passing. So, yeah. I think emotionally, even more than people got charged up over Kojima getting screwed, at least allegedly, by Konami, I think even people who aren't Nintendo fans had a soft spot in their heart for Iwata. Because it's so funny, you watch like those Nintendo Directs, and if it were anybody else but him being a part, I mean, the production in those things is kind of a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, a lot of times they're sitting in like this dodgy, like, conference room in their very sterile NOJ headquarters in Kyoto. And, I mean, literally, there's times where he's literally, like, in a conference room with, like, some corny painting behind him or whatever. And, like, in the whole, like, direct, like, if an American company did that, they get laughed out of the room. But it's because of who it is that he gets a pass. And, the fact that he is a player and a developer. And he started out like slugging it out and worked his way up through Nintendo from basically nothing. I mean, granted, I think he did end up marrying Yamauchi's daughter, but...
Yeah, part of the reason he did get that president position was because they wanted to keep it in the family, and I think Yamauchi didn't think his son was up to the task.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, he was a very...
Good pick, though.
Yeah, good pick. He did a great job. He's a charming guy. I've met him a couple times. He is incredibly friendly and awesome. Very cordial to anybody who comes up to him, no matter who you are, whether you're a journalist or you're just a fan or whatever. And I think people get that vibe from him, and I think that's why people took it really hard when he did pass away, and also passing away at a young age. And you just look at it from what he did for Nintendo. Nintendo was done. Think about it. 2 failed platforms in a row with the GameCube, and before that, really, the N64 was a failure. And he pulled Nintendo up by his bootstraps to have 2 of the most successful platforms ever. And I hope that people don't remember him for the Wii U and the failure that was the Wii U. Unfortunately, that was like the final console that he ever had a part in working on. But you look at what he did. I mean, he was brave. He was crazy. I mean, think about it, dude. A handheld with 2 screens. That's nuts. Like, waggle, like motion control. Like, when you're, think about it, Matt, if you were like the CEO of that company, $1 billion whatever dollar company, and you come into a meeting, you're like, this is what we're doing. How much balls does that take, man, to just completely flush what you've been doing all those years down a toilet, which it made Nintendo, it built Nintendo's war chest, the billions of dollars they had in the bank. That's why, because they had done things the same way. To go for that blue ocean strategy, to me, it shows a great bravery. And, he was right. And he wasn't right with the Wii U. Who knows whose idea that was, and it wasn't as successful as the prior 2 platforms that he had kind of launched. But to me, people are going to be talking about the Wii for forever. It changed video games forever. The DS with the touch screen, even though the dual screens may not last forever, using a touch screen to play video games or for your inventory is something that is going to be around forever. There's always going to be touch
remains the only handheld system to really hold its own in any regard against the mobile game title front.
Truth be told, will probably be the last ever mega successful dedicated video game handheld. So,
and I think it will be somehow folded into the NX because might have been one of their weirdest ideas, but it was also their best idea for a long time. And you see that I think you see that in the Wii U. The Wii U is basically trying to turn the TV into a DS.
Yeah.
You got 2 screens.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what they're after.
And like a patent came out today for the NX. It looks like it's going to have like a touch screen controller again. So we're going to see that functionality move on and on. He was a visionary. He was brave. He was a visionary. He died way too young. He was an awesome guy. Nintendo will never be the same after it. They just won't. The new president...
The 3DS, I think, he was behind that too. And, they'd been working on that since the Virtual Boy. He believed in 3D for a long time. And that to this day, when I first looked at the 3DS in the Nintendo booth at E3, we went over to see what was going on, for our tour. Yeah. And I looked in that thing. That was the closest thing to magic I've ever seen on that floor.
Oh, yeah. When you see 3D... Because
you had no idea it was going to look like that or it was going to look that believable, that good. And you're just like, what?
3D without glasses.
Yeah. It's right there.
Why don't I have a 3D TV that doesn't need glasses? Why don't I have that?
Because Nintendo doesn't make TVs.
Exactly.
I guess. I don't... It's just... It's so many ideas that you would think were no. On paper or in a meeting, you'd be like, come on. And it's and they made it real and they made it happen and they've got it out there and it works and it's super successful.
He drove innovation
he did.
In this industry, period.
He had a company that was known for the opposite.
Yep. And so I think the industry's going to miss him. I don't know what the new president's going to be like. The first couple interviews with him have actually floated on the internet the last 4 or 5 days. He seems to be pretty level-headed, but will he have the guts to do what Iwata did? And we need the head of Nintendo to have the guts that Iwata had.
Well, I would think they must have some... I'm sure Iwata had some advice before he left for the next, the next generation, the next 5 years, whatever you have.
Hopefully he laid down some kind of a plan.
I hope so.
But, so for me, biggest news story... 2015, Iwata passing away.
Oddly, might be more, I think, repercussions from that than Kojima.
Because for sure.
Kojima's one thing, but where Nintendo goes...
I hope not. I hope Nintendo continues down this path of being successful, trying new things. But you're right, it could. He could have been that linchpin that held everything together. So.
Or their next thing could be super successful, and they could come when they're asked about it, they come out and say, well, it was actually Iwata's idea to do it.
That would be pretty awesome.
And his legacy could be, He saved Nintendo from beyond the grave.
It shouldn't be the Wii U, that's for sure.
No,
that should not be his legacy. So, all right, let's move on. Next category, here's a fun one. Worst game of the year, Matt. Now, look, this is a category where we're not going to be right. I'm sure all of you watching will probably think of a game that was way worse. There's probably some game on Steam Greenlight that you can probably watch Let's Plays for on YouTube or whatever.
Game.
These are the worst games that we played this year.
I didn't play a lot of bad games this year.
There aren't a lot of bad games that come across my desk anymore. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way. So, Matt, what was your pick for worst game?
The worst game I played this year was Godzilla. On the PS4, which I played for about 30 hours.
Wow. How did you play this game for 30 hours?
Because I'm a big Godzilla fan. And it captures kind of the idiocy of the Godzilla movies, and
I like Godzilla too, man.
simple,
but-
brainless, and I played a lot of the weird like branching stuff, and I unlocked the monsters, and I beat the shit out of things as Ghidorah, and it was fun. I didn't do it all in like 1 week or anything, but it was like...
So why is it the worst game you played? Just because you didn't play many bad games?
I didn't play many bad games. Also, it just doesn't control properly. It's like it's big and clunky, and it's like those like terrible C-list PS2 games you used to be able to find like for like $5 at like Fry's or something.
That typically don't exist anymore.
No, they really don't. And I was shocked this thing got a retail release.
Yeah,
frankly,
it's pretty crazy.
I was also shocked they had the balls to charge $60 for it.
Yeah.
I think it's like 25 now at this point. But it actually has a lot of content in it. It's like I get like that sometimes. Like I did that with Dynasty Warriors Gundam several years ago. I played it for like 50 hours.
Oh
and
my
I did
gosh.
everything, and it was just every once in a while. Because every once in a while, I just need a brainless, stupid game that I can just like sit there and play until I just don't think about it anymore.
I
don't know
used to
what
be
it
like
is.
that, but now I value my time so much. Like
Normally I do too, but every once in a while the bug bites me, and I'm just like, I'm gonna play Godzilla for a month. Screw all you guys.
Oh my god. That's great. All right, well, my pick for the worst game of 2015 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. It literally, they don't make games like that anymore that bad.
Yeah,
they just don't.
That may not be my pick just because I didn't play it.
Yeah, it is. I was shocked. Again, this is a game, $59.99, full retail price, total broken disaster. Like, I don't know how the game came out, Matt. I really don't know how Activision allowed that game to be released.
When
I'm
that license
guessing
is going to run out, you got to get that game on
I'm
the
guessing
shelf.
there was some kind of a contractual thing
Yeah.
that they had to do, but man,
That's the same reason they keep putting Spider-Man games out.
I guess
They got to finish their contract.
I mean, they'd have been better off just putting out some like little mobile game like the Ollie Ollie franchise or something. Though I would much rather play Ollie Ollie than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. Like, it is just a broken, buggy piece of crap. Like, there's no depth to it. The gameplay's been dumbed down. It's even more simple than probably Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Like, it does have the manual revert, so you can link tricks between objects. So that would put it around Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, which is what, about 15 years old now?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
I was right alongside the GameCube launch in 2001.
Yep,
so, yeah.
exactly. So I was just, I mean, look, here's the thing. The developer that made it was the same developer that made the Tony Hawk Shred or whatever, where you had the skateboard peripheral.
Robomoto, yeah.
So my expectations weren't extraordinary, but I looked at it like, okay, well, they made those other games. People told them those games sucked. And so they would go to work knowing that their prior games sucked, and they would make the next game better. And they didn't.
No.
It was still a piece of crap.
Well,
so
not everybody can be Neversoft.
no one will ever be Neversoft.
Even
apparently.
Neversoft.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So that's my pick for the worst game of 2015. Again, I'm sure there's some weird game on Steam Greenlight that is way worse than probably both our picks, but I didn't play them. So that is the worst game that I played in 2015, hands down. All right, so here's a good topic. Game we didn't get. Now, we've actually had this topic on GameFace before, but we talked about games throughout history that we didn't get. And so this is, what game in 2015 do you not get?
I guess the closest thing to that would be Splatoon.
You didn't get Splatoon.
I didn't. I got it with the Wii U bundle I bought. And I played it a little bit, and it's it's bright and colorful, and I like the look of it, and I like the characters. I like the squids. And
You liked it.
I like the character
See, that's
designs.
the part I don't like about it.
But like, I mean, I think it's appealing. You know, I'm not saying I want to buy the amiibos. I'm
Right.
just saying like,
That's Amiibo, Matt.
I don't care. And you can. I say it with a capital A just to piss them off. Just imagine I say it with a capital A every time. But that shit reminds me of when like we got the press pack for the GameCube, and they said the only way we could refer to it was Nintendo GameCube, all in caps.
No, yeah, all caps. They wanted
All
GameCube
caps.
to be written in all
in
caps.
like press shit. In like New York Times articles.
Yeah.
All in caps, and I
Yeah.
was like,
No.
No,
the journalists actually created like the intercapped version of GameCube. Like that was like our way of being like, we're not going to do that, but we'll capitalize the C.
capitalize the cube.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that? It's our
capitalize.
olive branch to you.
But I played it. It's mildly fun, but I just find it like forgettable.
Because it has been like a phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
It's
mean,
huge.
even in Japan, it's huge. Here, it's
way,
huge.
way bigger than I thought it would ever be.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that the first time. I was like, well, Nintendo fans will dig it. It'll be something to play on the Wii U, but it'll just sort of fade out.
I figured
And
it would
nope.
sell. I figured it would sell like 500,000 copies.
That's
max.
that was an optimistic to me, I thought. And
Yeah.
that's their new big franchise.
It exploded, yeah.
It's big, but and I'm not saying anybody who likes it is wrong.
Right.
But I play it. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, and it's cool. I like the look of it. But like, to me, it's just like, well, someone made a shooter out of Mario Sunshine. Great. It's like I don't know. Like,
You should maybe give it another try for a
probably
little
try
bit.
it some more. I mean, I was just like,
'Cause
oh,
it is
try
more
this.
than
Now
that,
I'll play Bayonetta 2. Now I'll play. I kind
Yeah.
of did a big rotation of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll probably come back to some point. But after like an hour of playing it, my impression was just like, okay.
I think a lot of people are like you in that they maybe haven't played it, just assume that they would not like it. Because I know on Sifted, like, that game, anything we put up for that game just gets, like, no traction from anybody. No one talks about it. It gets no likes, like, no one-ups. Like, it's just...
I don't dislike it. It's just I played it and I'm like, cool.
Yeah. It's
Next.
weird. The game is weird.
It's like, I don't know. To me, it was like bread.
Yeah.
It was just like, cool, I like bread. But like, it wasn't like, I'm not going to like ask for a whole meal of bread. It's like I need some meat.
Yeah.
And there's no meat there for me.
I'll be interested to hear your take on it if actually you give it another chance.
I almost bought a Wii U to play it for the Transformers like event they did a few months ago,
yeah.
but then I found it was just you wear different shirts and if you win, you're a Decepticon and whatever. So then I was like, oh, well, I don't care.
Well, if you end up playing it over the holiday, when we come back next year to start up GameFace again, I'll be interested to hear your take if it's different from what you have
I'll
now.
try to dig into it a little more because I really haven't played it enough to like critique it in depth. But
Right.
my initial impression was just like it felt to me like playing like a mobile game that I was just like, it's like, oh yeah, cool, that's cool. Yeah. Now I'm gonna forget it's on my phone. It's
Right.
It's pretty much what I've done on the Wii U. I just scroll past it and go to Xenoblade.
All right, so my pick for this category for games we don't get is no surprise. I've talked about it at length on GameFace before, and that is Bloodborne. I just don't get it. I don't get the fascination. The game's beautiful. I love the art in the game. I love the animation in the game. I love the environments in the game. And truth be told, I like the gameplay in the game. I just don't understand why games are made so difficult. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And again, this is coming from, I've talked about this on the show before, this is coming from someone who likes Ninja Gaiden and a lot of difficult games. I think what bothers me the most is that I love everything about it but that. Like, I want to play this game. I want to finish this game. But I just know that I just don't have the patience or the time to do it. And so I feel like it's this carrot that's like dangling in front of me. It's like, and it's the most delicious carrot ever. And I just can't ever get a grasp on it. And, again, since I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, I'm not going to flog a dead horse here. But yeah, and the other thing too is that so many people do like it. And so I feel like I'm the weirdo, which I guess I kind of am, because a lot of people do like the game.
I really like. I mean, I would put it in my top 5 of the year. I think.
I mean,
I still haven't finished it. The game is long, and I have not had the time or patience to get good enough to get through some of that stuff. But it really is just like you got to persevere, you got to focus, you got to concentrate, and if you don't have the time for that, you're not going to get me. It's not a sit down. I'm just going to play 5 minutes of Bloodborne.
No,
it doesn't work like
way.
that.
Yeah, you have to get in the groove and get the timing down for everything, and like you're right. You got to commit like chunks of time to it, and like.
I booted it up for the DLC when the DLC came out a couple weeks ago. I booted it up, and I had to play through. I'd go back and play through the beginning part again just to remember how to play.
Right.
If you're not on the ball at all times, because there's that kind of that there's sort of like a frontier in the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games where it's like this is where your character, where you haven't been yet. And as you push through that, you have to be aware of everything at all times. You got to be ready. You got to be on your game. And like sometimes I'll just go back and play older stuff.
I felt like Dark Souls was worse about that than Bloodborne.
Yes, Dark Souls is much harder, I think.
Because Dark Souls, you could literally just wander down the wrong path, and one enemy comes up and is just like, "Hiya!" and you're dead.
You're much less likely to wander into an area you're not, quote unquote, not supposed to be in.
In that regard, I would say it is easier than the Souls games.
And I mean, Dark Souls 2 also was much less likely to lead you somewhere you weren't supposed to be in that regard. I would, the first two, Demon Souls and Dark Souls are easily the two hardest so far.
sure.
And I can see why some fans are worried that they are getting. I don't think getting casual makes sense to say, but I can see why some people think they're getting too friendly.
Yeah. Here's what I wish. I just wish you had a difficulty setting. Like, I'm not going to feel bad if I play it on easy. Like, I want to play through the game. I want to see all the bosses. I want to see all the areas. I want to see the awesome level design that everybody's talked about. But, like,
Sounds like maybe you should watch a Let's Play.
Yeah. No, that is not happening. I can tell you, that is not going to happen at all. But I want to experience it. Like, I want to fight these enemies, but I don't want to have to fight them 100 times to beat them. Like, I want to fight them 20 times to beat them.
It sounds maybe like it's a Let's Play you should do.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Watching me play through
Take
this
a whole
game.
day and, like, watch Shane fight his way through Bloodborne.
Oh, man. I should do, like, a streaming marathon of, like, Shane versus Bloodborne. It'd probably be the most watched stream we've ever done. But
Satterborn.
yeah. Again, I respect the game for what it does. The art is amazing. It is. That's the thing. Is like, this is my kind of game. Like, I love horror games. I love games with art styles like this. I love the aesthetic of that game out the wazoo. But I just can't do it. I just can't fight the same guy 100 times. I just can't do it. It's just not something I enjoy. So I just don't get it. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I would say that I think you're better at it than you think you are.
Probably.
Because I didn't get Dark Souls until I had to fight my way through it for a review. And at the end of that, I'm just like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
I'm not bad at games.
No.
Like, I can play
You can
really
do it.
difficult games.
I guarantee you can do
I just don't want to. That's the point. I guess that's the point I've been trying to get at. I don't want to play it. I don't want to. I don't want to fight a guy 100 times to, like, get lucky with a dodge so I finally, like, land that last blow.
In my Souls experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah. No, there's luck. Like, every once in a while, something will happen. He'll turn. The enemy will
it's
turn.
weird shit.
Like,
yeah.
right.
But that's not how you succeed in anything.
Well, no, you have to be good, obviously.
Yeah.
You have to get the timing down and everything. I
mean,
all
it's
that.
the closest thing to a fighting game equivalent combat system. I mean, as much as I love The Witcher 3, its combat system, the one thing that beats it for me is probably Bloodborne.
Yeah, that's what kills me. It's like, I want to play it so bad, but I don't want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. I've never come acroose a game or a series that's like this
I
for me.
understand. I mean, it's hard. Sometimes even when it was at first out, I'm just like, oh, I should play Bloodborne, keep playing Bloodborne. And there's a thing, that voice in my head, it's like, you really want to play Bloodborne right now? It's like, you're in such a good mood. You know? And because you never know what I might do real well and get through like 3 bosses and it's just like, oh, this was a great time playing Bloodborne. Maybe I'm just off my game that day and I can't even get past a boss I've already beaten before.
Yeah.
And I just hate myself for the
People
rest of
who
the
love
night.
Bloodborne get so mad over like the stuff that I say about Bloodborne too. They get so freaking mad. They're just like, oh, I hate you now. It's like,
It's
I'm
one of
just
those
being
games,
honest.
It's one of those games that gets into you. It gets into your skin and it becomes kind of like part of your gaming identity, I think.
I think that's what it is.
So
yeah.
it's
And so
like-
for
it's
someone
hard
to
to-
say that they don't get it or they don't like it, it's like offensive to them or whatever. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Different strokes for different folks. Let's move on to, this is a big one. Platform of the year. In fact, we're wrapping it up here. We've only got 3 more categories to go.
Yeah.
Platform of the year. This isn't like platformer, like
Right.
best Mario game of the year or ukulele or whatever. This is the best platform. So the best console, PC, whatever. Drum roll.
I'll say my pick for platform of the year is PC.
PC.
Not necessarily because of exclusive stuff or things you can only play on PC. There's a lot of that. I think just the experience, because I built a new PC. My other one was 5 years old, so it was pretty creaky by the time I got around to this one. And it's just, the experience is, pretty much, it is a little graphics hoary, but it's like the experience is objectively better on a giant 4K monitor than it is on my, my plasma is very nice, but the console, again, I think the modern consoles, this generation's consoles, are a little underpowered, and in the end, I don't care so much about 30 frames per second versus 60 frames per second, but I do want it to be stable.
Yeah.
And the consoles can't even handle that a lot of the time in some of these games, especially the multi-platform stuff. The platform exclusive stuff tends to be rock solid. But
The fact that Digital Foundry has to put out like a frame rate analysis for every single game that comes out, and I watch every single one.
Yeah, and I'm very concerned. I'm like, when is Shane going to put up the Digital Foundry thing? And it's like Just Cause 3. I didn't get Just Cause 3 because I just didn't trust it on any platform.
Yeah, that's wise.
But yeah, and of course, there's also like you can get like ridiculous. I just got like some crazy bundle on Bundle Stars that includes all 3D Realms old games and a bunch of other stuff. It was like $2.99 for like 40 games, and I was like, well, here's a bunch of stuff I can dabble with and never really play fully. But like, it's just in terms of the value for the money and the experience you get. I think PC has really proven itself.
I can't let you off the hook on this one, Matt. I'm going to have to ask you some tough questions here.
All right.
So, it sounds to me by your rationale that the PC should be platform of the year every year.
Maybe. I don't know how I'll feel about that next year when you've got all these crazy PlayStation exclusives coming out.
But there were lots of exclusives for both Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and Wii U, for that matter, this year. I mean, here's the thing. So once I got your awards and we were trying to put together footage for the show, I was like, what do I show for this? And so what we're showing is StarCraft 2 because it's like the biggest PC exclusive from the year. But beyond that, like, I couldn't think of any game that I could only play on PC that was excellent. It's like every game now, every PC game comes out on consoles, but not every console game comes out on PC. So, I don't know. I guess I have a hard time seeing your logic for picking PC here. And other than the fact that you just got like a beastly one, and like, you're blown away by like...
My logic is that the games are better on it. They run better. They're the frame rate's better. They play better.
And the controllers are the same.
And you can use the same controllers. That was one of my big problems with PC for a long time was I couldn't use a decent controller. And now you can use pretty much anything you want. And also offers other things like I got Xenoblade running on Dolphin, and you can do that on that platform. There's a lot of like weird little tweaks you can make to things. Fallout 4's inventory system pissed me off, so I just modded it to stop doing that. There's a lot more flexibility to it, and or stuff like like Dark Souls, where the Durante wrote like that the widescreen fix, and now he's put out a bunch of fixes for other games, and he's got that thing that can help you downsample stuff if you need to run something on a lower end PC, but you want to run it in 4K. There's stuff that you're not going to get out of the consoles, and I'm not saying I don't like the consoles. I mean, I played PS4 almost as much as my PC this year. I think there's great stuff on there too. But in terms of if I had to pick one platform that I got the best gaming experience out of this year, it was PC. Not because of what was only on it, but because of what it could do.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see your point. And
I'm saying that in irrespective of price. Obviously, it's a $400 PlayStation 4 versus like a $2,000 PC.
You spent more than that, I bet.
But you're talking about your average PC to run stuff at that level. That's about what you're going to spend, unless you're like really bargain hunting, cheap ass gamer.
Yeah, I mean the other part of it too, though, is that for most people they have to play the PC sitting at a desk and like. When you say the experience is better on PC...
I'm not telling anybody to get a Steam box.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, you're saying how the experience is better on PC, but in my opinion, like, the slight bump in visuals isn't worth, like, sitting in a chair like this playing a game. Like, when I can kick back on my couch with my feet up on the ottoman, like, I don't know, like...
I kick back on this giant cushy chair with my feet up on the couch to the side of the desk and play with the controller.
Yeah.
I play Life is Strange on the PC with a controller, and I never touch the keyboard.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you have your stuff set up. But I think most people have their PC somewhere else, like in a spare bedroom or in a den or whatever.
But I think a lot of those people also have it set up to be comfortable. And now that you can use controllers and like they like Steam big picture stuff and like I think that now the PC platform, not platform, but like Steam and GOG Galaxy and stuff, like they've developers on the PC have finally sort of discovered like, hey, the user experience on consoles is real seamless and easy and intuitive, so let's like emulate that as much as we can, and I think they're really getting there now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this much, I bet you're going to appreciate that PC a lot more if you end up really into VR next year.
Yeah, for sure. I just felt like, I don't know, I feel like there's other years where PC would have probably been more deserving of Platform of the Year than this year. Because there are years where the PC does have like some kick-ass exclusive games.
But I don't care about exclusives so much as the experience. I don't really care where something is. I just want to play it. Like I don't want a PC version of Uncharted.
But here's the thing, like you're not playing it on the PC if they're exclusive console games.
Yeah. I didn't do that this year, really.
Yeah.
Like the big games, there was only one or two games this year that were big for me that were exclusives. One of them being Bloodborne.
Yeah.
And one of
Forza?
them... I like Forza, but this one didn't. I like the Forza Horizon games better, frankly, at this point. Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is not exclusive for long, but I did play it on the Xbox One, obviously.
Yeah.
Would I have played it on the PC if given the choice? Yes, probably would, because the hair physics, man, hair physics.
Yeah, I'm sure that game's gonna look stunning on PC.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll play it again on PC. Again, that's the thing, is like, while I do think it's a superior experience in that regard, like, I don't think it's superior enough to do it again.
Right.
You know, it's not like it doesn't change the game. You know, I don't feel like someone who played The Witcher 3 on PS4 or Xbox One got a distinctly inferior experience. I'm not a PC warrior like that. You know, not like, oh, if you didn't play it in 60 frames a second on the PC, you didn't really play the game. It's like, no, fuck you. Like, it's like, you played the game. Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's super playable on anything, you know. So I don't.
Well, you
buy
can
that.
also kind of learn to look over the technical limitations a lot of times, and still appreciate a game for what it is.
Like, I don't know how these 60 frames per second warriors. I guess they didn't live through the early graphics cards.
They definitely never owned an N64.
We were just thrilled to get 20 frames a second out of Unreal Tournament, and like, it's just like, yeah, guys, good thing you weren't around when we were trying to tweak Quake to work properly on this shit.
Or the early like 3D consoles.
Oh yeah,
where they would chug along at 10 frames per second.
We're just like, I don't even know what that is.
Or the N64.
What is that? That's a bear? Okay, sure. I don't know.
Right, like Rare's games, they're so heralded, but you go back and play them now, and I mean, they literally, parts of them run at like 12 to 15 frames a second. Yeah. But I loved every minute of it.
It's amazing what they pulled out of that system for like Perfect Dark, but you play it now and you're like,
oh,
whoa, like what?
Yep. All right, so my platform of the year is Xbox One.
Really?
Yep, Xbox One. It had the best exclusives this year. To me, all these platforms have all the same crap, even PC included. PC, PS4, Xbox One, 95% of the content is all the same. So for me, platform of the year, a lot of it goes to which system had the best and most exclusives. And the fact of the matter is that Xbox One had the most exclusives, and for my money, had the best exclusives. I mean, it's no coincidence that Sony has admitted, and I will say admit because that's basically what they did, that they had a terrible first-party lineup for 2015. And
well, a lot of it slipped to 2016.
Right, and look, they're going to have a great year next year. They didn't have a great year this year.
No, the second half of the year for Sony was pretty dead.
I mean, if you really look at like which consoles should have sold the best in 2015, it sure the hell shouldn't have been the PlayStation 4. And
Call of Duty.
Going back to some of the stuff that you were saying about, you know, having the better experience, and there's definitely value in that, and I understand that. So the third-party games typically, I wouldn't even say that they look better on PlayStation 4 because, like, I would.
The Digital Foundry video shows they look a little better if you have them side by side and someone's pointing out to you
ultra slow motion. But when you're playing the games, it's very hard to see.
Right.
I mean, the frame rate, I think, typically, because Xbox One games are 900p, they're usually about the same, like as far as frame rate's concerned. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, there is a game that's kind of significantly better on PS4. So I do understand that, and I appreciate that. You know, that's a big part of kind of why you decided on the PC. But for me, it's content. Like, either I get to play this game or I don't get to play this game. And Xbox had a ton of games that I got to play only on Xbox One. Rise of the Tomb Raider, a new Halo, the Forza. I mean, even the Master Chief Collection, be able to play all those games again, even though the online sucked or whatever.
Well, you could finally use the online this year, so that's kind of a 2015 release. So.
And I mean, I look back at the PlayStation 4's exclusive. Yeah, I mean, the indie stuff is golden. But you go back, you look at the PlayStation 4, and it's like, what did I really play on that was exclusive to PlayStation 4 this year? Like,
you're saying the Order 1866 didn't...
Right. I mean, that was a bad game. It was a pretty game, but it was a bad game. And then there was Bloodborne, which, I know a lot of people love, but, I didn't really get into. So, and this is my award. This isn't me telling everybody else what they should think the best platform for 2015 is. Mm-hmm. This is my opinion. The Xbox One was the best platform for 2015. And next year, it's going to be real tough for Xbox One to win again because PlayStation 4 is really going to come into its own in 2016. This was probably Xbox One's kind of last hurrah in that regard. But
we'll see. Xbox One's got some stuff in the plan. We got some Crackdown. We got some Scalebound.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
Well, I'm sure there's stuff we don't know about.
Gears may make it next year.
Sunset Overdrive 2?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You don't think
I don't think you'll never see another Sunset Overdrive. I think that one's one and done.
Man, I love that game.
But the PlayStation 4 lineup next year is ridiculous. And
Yeah, because
so-
half of it is like this year's.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
supposed
Well,
to be this
regardless
year's.
of why, if it had been this year,
Well, that's like you get a lackluster second half of 2015 in exchange for like ridiculously packed 2016.
and truth be told, if a lot of those games that were delayed into next year had come out this year, I would probably end up selecting the PlayStation 4.
But I bet
for
they're going to be
2015.
better because they have the
They'll
time.
be better for it. And look, Xbox lost Quantum Break, and it got moved into next year. So whatever. All you can do is evaluate what's here, Matt. And for me in 2015, Xbox One was the better console to own. So I'm sure the chat's going insane right now over that one, but that's my opinion. So
I would just like the Xbox One's OS to catch up to the 360s at some point.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I'd agree. The OS is awful.
I don't
sluggish,
think
and
the OS is very good on the PS4 either, but at least it's a leap ahead of the PS3.
it's way snappier than Xbox One's.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like Xbox One is so slow, and the main thing is like weird little things like when we're in a party and the party crashes because that happens,
Yeah.
the party just dies. Why doesn't the Xbox One tell me that the party failed? Because the
Yeah.
360 did.
Well, they're probably like,
And if
you're not hearing anyone else anymore. You should know that the
Well, yeah,
party.
because I think everybody's quiet.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
and then and all of a sudden it's like, oh, no one's in the party, and the system didn't tell me that. Whereas like if you load up like Gears of War and you do a party for that and play Gears of War on the backwards compatibility, that feature is still in the Xbox 360 like emulator
I
they're
know,
running,
it's
and it's just
ridiculous.
like, guys, it's
Yeah.
right there.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not that simple.
I guess not, but like I just feel like
No, I hear you. The OS on Xbox One definitely has issues.
they're going to be playing catch up on that OS for the rest of the generation, just because.
Probably so. You look at where the OS was for Xbox 360 at this time in its
Yeah.
lifespan. It was. I'd take that right now on Xbox
For
One.
sure. Give me the blades back.
That's
I'm fine.
hilarious. That's so funny. All right, so we're about to move into our last two categories of the awards. If you guys have any questions for us, you should probably start asking them now to deal with the delay and everything. Try to keep them on topic as far as like Game of the Year. Maybe there's a category that we haven't went through that you want us to maybe give a quick opinion on or something like that. Try to keep it away from just the general Q&A that we usually do at the end of the show. So here it is, Matt. So we're not going to do the last award is not Game of the Year. We're going to do Game of the Year right now, and then the last award will be Most Anticipated Game of 2016. So if some of you guys are typing that already, like you can stop because we're gonna answer that for you guys. So here we go, the biggest one for 2015 Game of the Year. Matt, what is your runner-up for Game of the Year 2015?
Game of the Year runner-up would be Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Wow, that's insane.
I will admit that I'm not done with it. I'm only about 35 hours in, so I'm just starting, really.
But maybe that's part of the reason why.
Part of it. I mean, yeah, I love the first Xenoblade. That's no secret. I don't think the story in this one is up to par with the other one. It's much more standard anime story.
Yeah.
But the size of it, the complexity, I kind of like how it just throws you into stuff. And I'm like 35 hours in, I'm like, oh, I just discovered 2 nights ago the fashion menu.
Yeah.
Where you can, if you don't like the clothes you wear for these stats, you can put another set of clothing on that doesn't affect your stats. It just looks cool.
Right.
And I'm like, that's good. So, but I just found that.
The game is insanely deep.
I will say this. I think there are games that had more like narratively coherent open worlds.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've ever seen an open world that felt more like a real biome.
Right, like a real like living thing that
planet.
could exist.
Yeah, like just running through the legs of these giant dinosaur alien things that are drinking from the lake while you're like, and the fact that like a lot of the life on the planet doesn't attack you unless you attack it, so which means you can go to areas,
observe, yeah,
and look at things, and like you're level like 20 and they're level 60, and you're just like, these things could kill me in half a shot if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But like you're just sort of weaving between their legs and like finding like collectibles and stuff, and like just sort of navigating the planet and like the way
the planet navigation was really smartly done.
Yeah, especially with the gamepad and how you can fast travel anywhere you found, and you want to plant the. And I've had a great time just wandering around trying to plant all the data probes that like let you fast travel places.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love that in any open world game, but like just trying to figure out how to get places is great. And like the different biospheres you go into, different continents all have a different thing. And like the other thing is like, I kind of like to make fun of James Cameron's Avatar a little bit because I didn't think that movie was very good. But one of the things about it is that like, it had almost zero impact on the culture. Like, no one quotes Avatar. No one refers to Avatar.
There was really
no
no
one talks
memorable
about it.
quotes in
No.
the movie.
And I always kind of like, for the number one movie of all time, unadjusted.
Which is pretty
Which is
mind-blowing.
great, because it was a ride. It was a
Yeah.
theme park ride, basically, with a 3D ride, right?
Yeah.
For something that big, it's weird how it had almost no influence on anything.
It really hasn't, yeah.
And but I play Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I'm like, Avatar was definitely an influence on this world in terms of, like, there's the bioluminescent continent, and there's just the floating rock stuff, and it's the first time I've seen Avatar taken as an inspiration and really turned into something like unique and interesting, and they did a better Avatar than Avatar in terms of like creating this planet.
Well, the story is pretty much on par with Avatar's.
Yeah, the story is also about as cliched and predictable as you can imagine, and the funny thing is, like, the main story doesn't even grab, like, the Affinity missions where it's like weird side character stuff, and like some of it's just play like that standard sort of like anime series, like cartoony comedy stuff, and I'm just like, ugh. Like, as soon as the fat little alien merchant guy showed up and like decided to be your sidekick the whole time, I was like, oh boy,
it's like me playing Just Cause 3. I can't tell you how many times I've rolled my eyes playing that game.
But I will run out there and into the world and go find stuff and look at stuff, and I'll do this now, I'll do this now, look at this, now I can do this, and I'll just like load up on quests and go run around and find shit, and like, multiple times I've I've started to play it and I've looked up and it's 5 a.m. and I'm just like, how did all that go away? And it's so, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll end up hating it or get tired of it at this point, but I'm almost 40 hours in, and at this point I'm just like, I gotta bring this console with me everywhere I go from the next 6 months, so I can keep playing
over the holidays, back to your parents' house and whatnot.
But it's
at least the Wii is small.
Yeah. A lot of pieces, but it fits in a bag.
Yep, that's for sure. I think that's a solid pick. I think people might be a little surprised by that, though.
Yeah, well, I love a good JRPG, and this is a good JRPG.
All right.
Yeah, I'm very critical of them for the most part, and I think there haven't been a lot of great ones in recent years, but the team at Monolith, and it surprises me too, because I hated Xenosaga, and I'm not a fan of Xenogears, and for a while there I'm just like, if an RPG has Xeno in it, I'm not playing it. It's terrible. But the Xenoblade games, like, I don't know what they did, but they turned a corner that, like, it's exactly what I want.
Digital crack. All right, my runner-up for Game of the Year is Fallout 4. Probably not that surprising, I would say, for most people. I think everyone who's played the game has enjoyed it, at least moderately. I really got into it. I had a blast with it. I liked the crafting. I liked the addition of the homesteading stuff. I liked building my little environments. I liked reaping the rewards from it. I wish it was a little woven into the actual main quest of the game a little bit, because it felt like it was just kind of this thing that was tacked onto the side of it, and it didn't really have a bearing on sort of your success through the main quest. But I think that's not really what Fallout was about anyway. I didn't think it was really about the main quest, because like you were saying about some of the side missions that you've come across in other games, like some of the side missions you come across in Fallout are freaking amazing. Like, just random people you'll run into in the middle of the wilderness where there's nobody around, and they're just doing the weirdest stuff, or they have like the craziest story to tell you. And then they give you like a quest that is like, seems insane, and you go on this quest and you come back and there's this dude just standing there waiting for you to come back. Like, I got a nice, one thing I liked about it too is the companion system. I built a nice connection to all my companions, and it was always difficult to figure out which one I wanted to take out on a mission, and they all had kind of their own strengths and weaknesses, which is one thing I felt like, Metal Gear Solid 5 really didn't have. Like, I felt like once I got quiet, I just used quiet through the whole game.
Well, I wish there was a way to shut her up.
Yeah, exactly.
At a certain point in that game, I was like, she's going to hum that forever? Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I love the diversity of this game, too, all the different environments. I felt like the world was really, kind of like what you said with Xenoblade, I felt like the world was fully realized, and, like, how they built, like, the towns out of just junk. Like, it's just if you'd imagine what society would look like and would act like after a nuclear holocaust as it tries to rebuild and has limited resources, I just feel like they've realized it perfectly. I love that they had finally got the gameplay up to at least, like, tolerable first-person shooter standards. Like, I didn't feel like I was playing a janky first-person shooter whenever I played it this time. In fact, I relied on VATS far less than I did in Fallout 3, which I thought was great, because honestly, I felt like VATS in Fallout 3 was something that they put in there just because they couldn't get the shooting right.
Well, I mean, it's in there because it's always been in Fallout.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just felt like
it was a crutch.
I felt like it was a crutch and a conceit, whereas now, like, I don't have to use it if I don't want to, and it actually made it more rewarding for me because I used it whenever I really needed it, and so I got a sense of accomplishment out of using it instead of just spamming it in every fight that I got into.
I will give them credit for, like, unlike Fallout 3 in New Vegas, in this one there have been times where I'm just like, well, I'm going to get this done faster if I just do it real time.
Yeah.
And that was super. I could probably count on two hands the number of like sniper shots I took without VATS.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
and in this one I do it all the time.
Oh, literally, I used VATS probably in Fallout 4, probably 25% of my battles. Seriously, like I hardly ever use it. I used it when I really needed it.
I mainly use it when I run into an enemy whose like animations are really hard to headshot.
Yeah,
that's
right.
pretty much what it's for.
Like insects.
Like insects.
I use it on insects every time.
Those ghouls that like jump around.
That dodge, yeah.
And like usually for that last headshot on a Mirelurk.
Yeah. And the value I got out of the game, I played it for, I think it literally ended up being like 70 hours, and there was still a crap ton of game left to play, and I hadn't really got tired of it. I just kind of needed to move on to play other games, and I feel like I probably will go back to it eventually. DLC I'm excited about. Again, it was a complete package. It didn't have like much connectivity or anything in the way of like online functionality, which is kind of disappointing for a game of that stature in this day and age when you see the stuff that games like Bloodborne does and things like that. But I felt it was a complete game, not the prettiest game, obviously, and it's had its issues. I didn't really experience a ton of bugs like a lot of other people did. I just had a blast with it. I really enjoyed it. I got totally sucked into it, kind of like how you are with Xenoblade. Like, you just get sucked into the world, and next thing you know, like, a full work week has passed by that you've been playing the game. So
I think the only thing holding me back from getting that way with Fallout 4 was that I'd played Fallout 3 for 120 some hours, and
I never played Fallout 3 like that. It was like Ryan Stevens reviewed it for Game Trailers, and so I played it enough so I could have an intelligent conversation about it for the Game Awards. But I think it amounted to like
I reviewed it for X Play. I think so, and then I played all the DLC. I mean, Fallout 4 is so similar to 3. That like I just feel like I've done it before in a lot of ways.
I could see that. If I had played already a game like this for 100 hours, I could definitely see where the impact of Fallout 4 would be.
And I guess it was maybe not smart to think so, but I was kind of hoping it would be something close to the leap over Fallout 3 that Skyrim was over Oblivion, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
And while I don't dislike it, I played it. I think I'm probably 40 or 50 hours into Fallout 4, and I haven't played it much since Battlefront.
That's enough to have an informed opinion.
But like,
for sure.
But again, and it's certainly more Fallout. No such thing as bad more Fallout.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about that Brotherhood of whatever that console one where it was like a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance ripoff. That was terrible. But more Fallout is never bad. I just hope that they move on to a new engine next time.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, so the moment has come where we name our Game of the Year. We can say this one together, Matt.
All right.
And so the 2015 Sifted Game of the Year is The Witcher 3. We both agree on this one. Yeah, we actually I think I kind of tipped my hand on Tuesday because I was like, they got it right.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Game Awards, but honestly, it wasn't even a question, Matt. I don't even
like it was a competition for runner-up.
Yeah,
there's not even light years ahead of anything else.
It really is. Like there wasn't even a consideration. In fact, I kind of figured like when I played it, I was like, how is anything going to beat this game?
I said the same thing. I mean, I was ready for something to beat it. I was ready for Fallout to beat it. I was ready for Battlefront to beat it. But that just didn't happen.
No, a lot of games came in way short of expectations this year. That's one thing I would say. But this is not one of them, and that's the thing. This one exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
And even though they were sky high, it still beat them.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan. I mean, I've been a fan of this series since the first one came out on PC in 2007. It's been a long time. And I love that game's world. I love the world of The Witcher. Although I do agree with like when the first Shots of Blood and Wine came out this week, And so,
Which looks amazing.
It looks amazing. They're big, bright vineyards from like kind of a
Yeah.
fake Italy, France combination kind of thing. And there were people in a thread going like, "Wow, it looks amazing. I'd love to visit. Visit that place." And I was like, "No, you don't want to visit the world of The Witcher. The world of The Witcher is horrible and violent and dirty, and you'll die in various ways by monsters that are everywhere." But like,
Not just monsters either.
It's so unlike anything else, any other world in gaming.
It
right
really
now,
is, yeah.
because it's just got this Eastern European bleakness to
Yeah,
it.
it's not traditional fantasy, but it has shades of it.
Yeah.
Like,
But it also it's got like elements of like old fairy tale, like the original versions of fairy tales where monsters cooked children and ate their skin.
Right,
and stuff.
right, yeah.
And and the solutions for horrible things are usually more horrible than the horrible thing in the first place, but at least it's over quick, kind of
Right,
thing.
yeah.
And like it's weird like twists and turns in terms of how the lore works and like how everybody just sort of accepts that there's these monsters that come out of the water and eat corpses, and if you go too close to the beach, they're gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah. But I also like that there's a juxtaposition too. There's a levity about the game.
Yeah.
It's got a nice humor to it, and like it's not just like games like Bloodborne. They're just very oppressive, and when you play them, you kind of get in this weird like funky mood. But this game, it takes you like through peaks and valleys. It's like it'll go up, it'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go down, and it keeps you guessing. They did a great job, I felt, like mixing up the quests, so you never were doing like the same thing over. I never felt like the game got repetitive. I never felt like the game failed to be clever. I never grew tired of the combat in the game. The game is absolutely freaking gorgeous. It's like games used to be. It used to be that games the graphics got better as you went. Like the designers would they have a great first couple levels to get you hooked in, and then there'd be a little lull in the middle, and then you get towards the end of the game, and they would just start stacking on these sick looking levels, one after another. And I feel like games have gotten away from that, but The Witcher 3, I feel does that. I felt like the farther I got in the game, the more compelled I was to want to see more of it. And there's just not enough games that do that anymore. There's some games that have come out this year, I was just talking about Just Cause 3, it's a one-trick pony. It's hey, here's blow stuff up with your grapple hook, and this is just a whole other league of video game, Matt. I guess is the best way that I can put it.
And it was made, we found out this week from their business call, we found out it was made for $80 million.
Yeah. Hey,
less than half of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think they'll make as much money as Grand Theft Auto 5 did.
Probably
either,
not, but I'm just saying, that's a real smart, judicious use of $80 million.
Oh my gosh,
to
yes.
make this
Oh yeah,
out of that.
and they're
It's
going to reap the
incredible.
rewards of it, and deservedly so.
And to this, I'm 120 some hours into this game, and just the other night, some quest took me to the top of some really tall mountain in Skellige, in the island area, and I got to the top, and it was snowing. It was there was snow up top, and the sun was setting, and it was there were God rays coming through the trees on the top of it, and it was just this moment where I came up over the top of the mountain. I was like, "Wow,
yeah,
that's really
no,
nice."
That happened to me
120
over
hours
and
into this
over
game,
in
and it's
that game.
still blowing me away with quick little vistas like that. And
Yeah.
I'm just how? How do you still have that?
Right,
up your
and see, I
sleeve?
started looking back at the other games like Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, and it's you play the first 5 hours of those games, and you've kind of played the whole rest of the game.
Yeah.
This game is just constantly surprising, the diversity of it. That's why I was saying, best graphics for this game. It's the variety of environments that they've created for this game is just the whole thing is just staggering. And for it to be that polished, I mean, look, I know there's bugs in it. There's bugs in every game now because somebody decided to put a hard drive in a console, but what they accomplished with the bug per hour quotient of this game is through the roof.
And they've been really aggressive about fixing it and getting things working and addressing bugs the community finds, and they're having a problem. There was that one patch they put out that had 800 fixes in it.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
These guys,
they've done the DLC right.
CD Projekt Red is a consumer focused company in terms of how they take care of their product after it's released, and I really hope some other companies take a hard look at what these guys are doing and start doing stuff more like it.
Yeah.
Because they do it right.
Yeah, this has been one of the most clear-cut game of the years for me, maybe ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even hard. I mean, once I finally played, once I put some quality time into Xenoblade Chronicles X and Rainbow Six Siege, those were kind of the last 2 games that I really needed to play. It was just plain as day. Like, I don't know what the chat's like right now, but I'm guessing anyone who says we're crazy for picking that game just simply hasn't probably played that much of it, because there's really nothing in its league. All right, so we're going to go to, well, not our award, so to speak. We're going to now name our most anticipated games of 2016, and this was way harder than picking the game of the year.
One of them was harder.
You think?
My number 1 pick for most anticipated game was not any harder than Witcher 3.
Really?
No
Wow.
question.
Okay, well, let's start first with your honorable mention, Matt.
Honorable mention would be Uncharted 4.
Okay.
I'm a big Uncharted fan. I'm a big Naughty Dog fan. I wish Amy Hennig...
I think everybody is.
Yeah, I wish Amy Hennig was still writing it, but I'd also rather have an Amy Hennig Star Wars game than I would another Uncharted game.
Yeah.
But I like what I've seen. I really liked what I saw at the Game Awards. What they showed there, his brother and everything. I'm into that. I want to know more about it. I love these characters. I will play these characters until they stop letting me play them, which sounds like it's probably going to be this game.
Yes, it sounds like in 2 months that will be solved for you.
But I'm a huge fan of the series, and I want to spend more time with those characters. And that's it. You had me on Uncharted.
Yeah. I mean, my concern is the gameplay. I mean, it looks okay, but I think they're right for this being the last one, because I feel like it's just kind of...
There's not much more you can do with it, really.
I mean, I even felt this playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, where I felt like the formula, because they are pretty much the same games.
I'll tell you this, if you want to start making Uncharted games that are more like Telltale games, I'll play those.
Really?
Yeah. I love those characters. I'll spend more time with those characters. I don't care what the gameplay is. I mean, I like the jumping and the shooting and all that shit, but if it's just like more stories with these characters, especially Sully.
Everybody loves Sully.
Like
he's one of the greatest characters in video games because he's like everybody's like uncle.
Yeah, and he's also kind of like everybody. Like every once in a while, Sully's the one who has to say what the player's thinking.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
Yeah,
like,
he is kind of the conscience
hey,
of the.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just grab gold things? It's like, yeah, you're right. That's what I'm wondering too. I'm wondering how you guys are out of money, and I've collected 60 fucking gold treasures over the course of this damn game, and an alien artifact from Ratchet and Clank. How are you guys not millionaires? But yeah, Uncharted, super into it, and of course it's beautiful, and I want to see what if that's what they showed for E3, who knows what else is in this game?
Oh yeah. I'm sure it's going to be graphically. It already is graphically mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing visually. There's nothing in this game's class. Nothing. Like not on PC, not anywhere. Like what they're getting out of the hardware of the PlayStation 4 is like mind-blowing, dude.
The
like,
detail in the environment work is just insane. Like, I don't know.
Just the details of everything, dude. Like, I was watching that one, like, developer doc they put out where they showed, like, the one scene where the Jeep had, like, flipped over on top of him. And just the little detail they put into that, because there's, like, a flame burning on the ground next to him. And they showed how they had, like, worked on every object on the cockpit of that Jeep so that the fire was like interacting, and it's like it's a 2-second shot that you see, and the work that it is just it's staggering.
Like in the video from E3 where he's being dragged behind the car and like just like swinging through the mud and knocking stuff over. Look, like just like one of the market stalls or whatever he knocks over, all the stuff that falls out of that, and then like look at the next one, and none of it's repeated.
Oh, I know.
And it's like there's more detail in the stuff he knocks over in that scene than an entire game levels from other games. It's
and
ridiculous.
Here's the thing, like I feel like I may get tired of the gameplay in this game pretty quick, but I think the graphics in this game are so good that it'll just totally pull me through the whole game.
Well, also, Naughty Dog is another developer that knows to do what you said with The Witcher 3, where like they keep showing you better and cooler things as you go through.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yep. With a couple set piece moments set here and there.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so my first runner-up for most anticipated game of 2016 is The Last Guardian.
What?
I can't tell you, Matt, this is like actually kind of a joke. Any of the people who know me from GT know that this is kind of an inside joke, because literally at game trailers we would do most anticipated for everything, for like Tokyo Game Show, for E3, for GDC, and every single list we would put The Last Guardian on it. Every one. Because there would always be some kind of like
one day.
glimmer of, no, there would always be like a glimmer of hope. Like a little news thing would come out and be like, oh, we're still working on it. We'd be like, whoa, well, GDC's coming up. So that means, now that he's talking now, that must mean that, yeah, he's going to have it at GDC.
And then everyone would be like, Game Show has picked Last Guardian as the most anticipated. They must know something.
No, they would. They totally would.
No, they don't.
It's just wishful thinking. And so I feel like if I did not have this at least as my runner-up for most anticipated of 2016, I would be betraying myself in some way, some foolish way. So there you have it, The Last Guardian. I believe it is going to finally come out.
I think so. Yeah.
That'll be a risky pick in our fantasy draft, won't it?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I mean, I'm a Team Eco fanboy for sure. I mean, Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
I would put that at my number one of all time. I am terrified of this game because I just don't know. Like, I don't know if it's going to be any good. Like, it'll be a game I've waited 12 years for.
We all have.
And how does it live up to what I want it to? I don't even know what it is, frankly. I mean, is it just like running around doing eco shit with a bird dog? Like, I don't know. What is it?
Well, you can see right here what it is. You're doing
But is that all
platforming
it
with
is?
a big dog with wings.
Is that all it is? Is there more to it? I don't know.
I don't know. Seems like there's like puzzle platforming for the most part is pretty much what it is.
But it's like
Because like there's
I mean,
the whole
clearly
like
there's
feed Trico thing and.
But clearly there's an eco influence here. But what if there's a Shadow of the Colossus influence? There's giant monsters.
Well, I think there already is. There's a big monster right there.
But what if he has to fight other giant monsters?
I would hope he does.
What if you train him?
I've counted on it for 12 years that you're fighting big monsters.
What if he doesn't? What if that doesn't happen? What if it's just this for 14 hours?
I would be really disappointed.
That's why I say I'm afraid of this game.
I'm not afraid of it.
I'm afraid of this game.
I can't be afraid of anything I've lusted after for 12 years. So anyway, I've put this on about 12 lists. Make it 13, baby.
Boom.
All right, Matt. It's time for you to make your pick for the most anticipated game of 2016.
The most anticipated game of 2016. Not even a competition. No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
Again, could be horrible.
Yeah. It could be boring.
Totally fail to live up to what I'm hoping it will be.
In fact, that's what I would say right now is it looks boring.
I disagree.
Yeah.
But
obviously, it's your most anticipated game.
But like again, if this game is done right, like you better make sure you call me on show day because like I may be on another fucking planet.
You may not make it, yeah.
Especially
if it's in VR.
If it's not good, I am going to complain about it for the rest of the year. So I just want you to be ready.
You forgot about Batman eventually, kinda. You forgot about Batman eventually.
I didn't forget about that.
Kinda.
I didn't forget about you, motherfucker. Didn't forget about you, Bruce Wayne. I was very upset you cut most disappointing game.
Yeah, we had already done with our Turkey Awards. We had done.
Yeah, but Turkey, I named Battlefront because I was so irritated with how it was then, and like, but as far as games all year that just like let me down completely, Arkham Knight, no question. Like Arkham Knight, just I don't understand what the hell anyone was thinking through that whole thing.
Very pretty game. That
That
was on my short list for best graphics, actually. One of them.
If it didn't make me angry, I might have like put it on my short list there.
Yeah.
Like because that's good cape.
It sure is. It gives good cape.
Gives good cape. And the raindrops on the cape, that's good stuff. Yeah. I'm into that. But I don't care how pretty it looks. That fucking bat tank, Poochie the bat tank. Where's Poochie? Like, it was just like I'm never gonna care about your fucking bat tank. Like, stop it. But yes, No Man's Sky, my pick for and again, also a June game, just like Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have picked Arkham Knight as my most anticipated game for the first half of this year.
Yeah, if you had done
this last year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think a lot of people would have.
Yeah, No Man's Sky, and that's No Man's Sky, if it's done right, is one of my dream games. Is one of the games that's been in my head my whole life. So yeah, this was a no-brainer, most anticipated game.
All right.
But I fully admit that it might be terrible.
It could be boring. I don't think it'd be terrible. I think it could be boring.
Oh, anything can be terrible. But yeah, boring is probably the most likely way it would be terrible.
Well, I think the concept, as long as it's not broken, I think that alone keeps it from being terrible.
It could be broken.
But it could just be dull with nothing to do other than traveling around. That's my fear.
I'm looking forward to just naming pterodactyls after you.
Yeah, okay.
That's I mean, you don't need to, if you give me another planet to look at, as long as there's stuff to do in terms of like, oh, I'm going to catalog this plant.
Well, the first planet I find is being called Planet Sifted. There's no doubt about that. You guys can all come and live there with us.
Planet Sifted and it's moon gifted.
There you go. All right, so now I need to pick my most anticipated game of 2016, and that game is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Woo!
Yep.
Very close to my runner-up.
Yeah, I'm blown away by this game. I saw, the demo they showed at E3 was one thing, but then seeing it behind closed doors was another thing. I'm a little scared because of the developer, and I honestly have not really loved a game this developer has ever made.
Which is just Killzone. I mean,
I
they've been stuck on Killzone for how many years? That's the thing, is I never liked the Killzone.
Black. They made Black. And that game was good.
But I never liked the Killzone game.
I don't either. I wouldn't say I don't like them.
But I'm excited. I just nothing about Killzone ever grabbed me at all. But I will say, this game to me looks like a developer unleashed. It looks like they've had a lot of ideas for something like this. Like over the years, they were stuck on Killzone, and now they're being kind of freed to make this game. And it looks like it's just got verve and heart.
Well, here's the thing for me is that I do kind of have that Monster Hunter recessive gene. Mm-hmm. Like I played Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii for probably a couple hundred hours, and it also kind of has a little bit of that Phantasy Star Online vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And
I'll admit that's also a reason I like Xenoblade.
Yeah,
Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah, it's got that same vibe to it, definitely. And, this game isn't just Monster Hunter, because what I eventually burned out on Monster Hunter is I felt like I didn't have enough context for what I was doing. It's just like, let's go kill this monster. Like, there was really no story behind it or any setup for it. Like, it was just like, you're going to go kill this monster. Yeah. And here, it's like there's actual narrative to it. There's an open world. There's, like, these other races and societies that you're mingling with. There's an ecosystem in the game where the creatures are fighting each other and, like... I just feel like this game is going to suck me up in it, and I'm just going to curl up in a fetal position and love it to death. So, I could be let down. Again, Guerrilla has never really made a game that I completely loved, and but man, this looks so awesome.
Well, it's like the Xenoblade thing. It's like walking through this environment with these creatures that don't really care about you. It's like this ecosystem in front of you.
Yeah. That's what really I do love about open world games that feel like they're alive, where it's not just like, and that's one thing I would say about like the Grand Theft Auto games. Like everything feels like it's all set up, like it's like a set for a play, where it has like this very pretty facade, and then you go walk to the side and you can see like the wooden supports like holding it up. Like that's how I feel like some of the Grand Theft Auto stuff is. And like these games where you have creatures that are preying on each other and you become a part of that, like it just adds a whole other layer of kind of aesthetics to it. So I'm crazy excited for this game. I also fear it won't come out next year because it is really ambitious. Mm-hmm. And it's being made by a developer who's never made a game like this before.
I'm hoping it's going to be like their September-October game.
This will be a dicey fantasy draft game too, right here.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, we're going Metacritic, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I feel like this one could be loved.
We'll see.
But, like, it's going to have to make it first.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I'm really excited for that game. That is my most anticipated game for 2016.
You just made me think of, like, do I want No Man's Sky in my draft? Because I feel like the reviews on that are going to be all over the place.
It could be, because there'll be some people who like...
There's going to be love it or hate it on that one.
It'll actually be one of those games on other people's lists that say they don't get, like, next year.
Right.
So there'll be people who will be like, I don't get it. Like, just flying from one planet to another. I don't get it.
It's already there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get it.
They haven't even played it yet. Just on the concept.
Well, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's like I shoot you with a fucking laser beam. That's what I do.
All right, so that's it for Sifted's first annual Game of the Year Awards. Let's see if we have any questions from you guys. We actually asked for questions like 20 minutes ago. And now there's like all this commentary about No Man's Sky. Actually, a lot of commentary about No Man's Sky. Holy cow, a lot of commentary about No Man's Sky.
In terms of going back to the platform of the year question, isn't all our anticipated games are Sony exclusives?
Yeah. Right, which makes my point about like
about the weakness of this year and the strength of next year for the PS4.
Right,
for sure.
Yeah, you're right. All four of them are PlayStation exclusives, so it's gonna be one hell of a year for PlayStation 4. Everyone's gonna be glad they got one now. Let's see. I don't know if anyone did ask questions. They're actually definitely chatting up our choices. That's for sure.
Oh, was it Vinarab asked if I've played Dreamfall chapters this year? No, I have not. Although I did back it on Kickstarter. I am waiting till all the chapters are out before I play it because I hate waiting for things in the middle of the story. If I play it now, I'm going to go back and play them again when the final chapter comes out, and that's just going to waste my time. So no, I haven't played it yet, but I did like Dreamfall, not as much as Longest Journey, but I'm waiting on chapters until they're done.
I'm still trying to find questions. People are just talking about our choices like crazy.
Actually, W. Matthew points out that No Man's Sky is also on PC. I forgot about that.
That's right.
But it's being pushed very hard as a PlayStation.
Yeah, but it's very easy to think it's a PlayStation 4
it's
exclusive.
easy to forget. I mean, it is at the top of my Steam wish list, but there's no real. It just has a page. There's no price. There's no anything.
Let's see. Potheads will give No Man's Sky a 10. Sober people a 7. That's from Nolan Elric.
Entirely possible.
Oh man, there's so much chat. They're talking so much about our picks. It's like I can't find any questions.
A couple people asking what date will be back in January.
I haven't
know
looked at
that
the
yet?
calendar actually. Yeah, I don't know actually. It'll be the first week of January, one of the days that week for sure. Because typically I go home, I'll leave to go back to the East Coast on like the 18th or 19th, so like late next week, and then my anniversary is the 28th. So usually we do Christmas with our family back on the East Coast, and then we go somewhere for a short trip for our anniversary, and then we come back. So I'll be back here probably by January 1st. We're usually back here for New Year's. So whatever the first Tuesday is of the first week of January, we'll probably have the show. Hopefully there's something to talk about. That's the other thing. Like,
I might have to Skype in for that one.
yeah, when are you coming back into town?
Not sure yet.
Okay. Well, here's the thing is like, things have really slowed down in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, there is nothing
I
happening
don't know
in the
if
industry
anything
today.
will be occurring.
Yeah, I checked Sifted today, and the curation, there was just like nothing. There just isn't anything happening right now. Now that like Rainbow Six is out, it's the last big game. Like some of the stories sites were publishing today, they were publishing them just because they had nothing and they needed something. So things are really slowing down already, and it's only like not even the second week of December yet. So by next week, by the time I'm ready to get out of here, there's going to be nothing going on. So, and then once everybody leaves for the Christmas break, like over like December 20th through the New Year, it is just crickets. Like everyone will be publishing their Game of the Year awards, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah, we're not even sure that there'll be stuff to talk about the first week of January. If there is, we'll do a show. If there's not, we'll push it until we actually have something to talk about. But maybe we'll make up with it for streams or whatever, because I'm going to be here. I'm going to have something to do.
Yeah. Maybe that's when you stream Bloodborne.
That could be my Bloodborne marathon. You guys can all come and
I'll tune in for
laugh
that.
at me. I don't know if I'll make it, man, without destroying something. So, but yeah, maybe
a lot
we
of people pointing out that XCOM 2 is their most anticipated. That's a good pick. I do love the XCOM.
XCOM was Game of the Year at GT. I think it was 2012.
Was it?
Is that the year it came out?
Sounds right.
Yeah, 2012, it was the Game of the Year. Because that year, like, our editors, we were all split. Like, we all had, like, a game that we all wanted, like, really badly, and we're fighting, like, tooth and nail for. And what it literally came down to was, like, what game could we all agree on that should be, like, second? Like, that's really what it came down to. And, like, of the 8 editors, like, 6 of us was like, well, I'd have XCOM second. And there was, like, 6 of us were like, well, that's pretty much the consensus. And the other 2 guys were like, yeah, I like it. So that's pretty much how it came to be. But yeah, it was our Game of the Year when it came out. So I hear you. But I played that, and then I played the next one, and they were both very similar. And today, like, all these previews came out for XCOM 2, and it sounds like it's pretty much just like the last 2. And so,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, I am too. But for me, to be most anticipated Game of the Year, it's got to be something
Yeah,
better
well,
than
I mean, you know pretty much what you're getting out of XCOM 2, which is one reason it would be something to look forward to, because it's going to be dependable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my pick, certainly my pick for No Man's Sky is just like, I don't know, I'm totally curious. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I just want this Schrodinger's cat of a game to finally pop out and be alive or dead.
Yeah.
Like, do it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it, Matt. I think that is the end of GameFace for 2015. I think we've made it to the end of the road. I just want to give you a high five for an excellent year.
The show.
You were the man. You've done an excellent job since jumping into the fray after Marcus's weird exit. So I just want to, aside from thanking all you guys for a great year, I want to thank Matt as well. He started out as our TriCaster operator, doing an amazing job at that as well.
It was fun.
Yeah, and then moving in front of the camera, which is someplace you probably should have been a long time ago, to be quite frank. But, when you work in TV, it doesn't always work out that way, which is where you've always worked. So, but I always knew.
You got to be a little prettier to be on TV, folks. But the internet doesn't care.
Yeah. Truth be told, I don't know the TV cares all that much anymore either. Because
Maybe not. I mean, maybe not on sports broadcasts. For sure.
But it has been a great year. It's been crazy. This year has been insane.
Yeah, but you did it. You've been talking about this for a long time, and you did it.
Yeah. Once again, thank you guys for a great year. 2015 has been awesome. I mean, it was a dream of mine to launch a website like this, and it happened. So I guess in some ways I've achieved my dream. Now, the next phase is to just make it successful.
Now you got to keep dreaming.
Yeah, keep on dreaming, and I will. So everybody have an amazing holiday season. I'm going to miss you guys. I feel like it's like a friend that I'm saying goodbye to right now. Everyone have a great holiday season, a safe holiday season. I hope you guys all get whatever consoles or games or whatever you guys are hoping for the holidays. Have a safe New Year's. Don't drink and drive. I don't want to hear about any sifters getting in bad accidents over the holidays. Have somebody drive who's sober, or take a cab or an Uber or whatever. It's a big deal. Don't think it's not. So happy holidays from both Matt and I. Hope you guys have a great holiday season, a restful one. Hope you get to play a ton of games. We'll miss you guys while we're out, but we'll see you in early January. GameFace is up and out.